traveling the mountains just to find the loudest tears. We sat down by the fire, knowing we could aim higher, but we didn't know that yet. So if you want something to hold on to, gotta find it first. But here I am, 'cause I've been laying under palm trees, waiting for the summer, knowing there's nowhere to go. 'Cause I am happy on this island, wanna be my farmland. I don't ever want to leave, I'm in a tropic club. I remember the ocean, memories die out too hard. But we were traveling the mountains just to find the loudest tears. We sat down by the fire, knowing we could aim higher, but we didn't know that yet. So if you want something to hold on to, gotta find it first. But here I am, 'cause I've been laying under palm trees, waiting for the summer, knowing there's nowhere to go. 'Cause I am happy on this island, wanna be my farmland. I don't ever want to leave, I'm in a tropic club. I'm in a tropic club.
Suck me in slow, breathe me in and let me go. Filling the lungs inside you, and the blackened eyes make my way into your mind. Just to know what you knew, restless every time we start locking eyes. Lost control. Oh, it's paradise with a nasty bite. In the dead of the night, let the darkness take control. smoke, breathe me in and let me go. Sink to your heart to find you. Open up your eyes till you're blinded by the lies, so you can see what you do. Restless every time we start locking eyes. Lost control. Oh, it's paradise with honesty, but in the dead of the night, teardrops on the floor. The pain is over. Feel the darkness take control.
Hold me close till I get up. Time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left. The storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah, no, I don't wanna waste what's left. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go.
Hello everybody, and we are back to the Masters for the first round matches once again, and this time around we're going to have the World Number 2 and the World Number 1 feature, because Watchalong will play against Jiahui tomorrow, but today it is going to be all about the return of the warrior, Kyren Wilson, trying to get himself back on form. And remember, the runner-up here 12 months ago, losing out to Shaun Murphy by 10 frames to 7, he's going to be up against some of the senior player there from China, Jiahui, the player that has actually struggled himself this season, and he always was going to be expecting him to finally win that ranking event for the first time in his career. Hasn't quite happened just yet, and we'll see if Wilson is going to be able to get his cue, which he says that he's been enjoying so far ever since that week of Scottish Open, and hopefully that will have a positive impact on his performance today. And as I say, very surprised to see Jiahui dominating the poll by 65% to 35%. I think that's a bit unfair to the world number 2. But, you know, neither of players have been playing particularly great snooker. But, of course, they have met and have played against each other twice already this season. And both of those occasions we have seen Kyren Wilson victorious. The problem, of course, was the fact that it was at the start of the season where Kyren Wilson was playing by far the best stuff this season. And that was the Triumph campaign at the Shanghai Masters, the non-ranking event, and he managed to take a decider away from Jiahui, get himself into the semi-final spot at that time with Zhao. Managed to win all of those matches before coming to beat Ali Carter by 11 frames to 9. And of course, history repeated itself at the Saudi Arabia Masters before facing Ronnie O'Sullivan in the quarterfinals. He had to come through Jiahui and beat him by 6 frames to 3. Once again, it is going to be first to 6, but is history going to repeat itself once more? Or is Jiahui going to finally win the third match of his career against Kyren? So far, the scoreline does seem to be 6-2, which, I mean, so far has been the scoreline of the Masters. You know, you had Weezer against Shaun Murphy, finished in 6-2. We had Jiahui against Guy Wilson, was 6-2. Mark Cullen against Mark Williams, once again being 6-2. And Xiao and Mark Selby all finishing with the same scoreline. So, is it going to be 5 out of 5? Or is it going to be a bit of a breakthrough for one of the players? We're about to find out very, very soon indeed. And so we just wait for Kyren to walk onto the arena, and certainly looking forward to see the best out of him. Now then, just waiting for the announcement to be made. And the match should be starting very, very shortly. But for both of the players, it will be very important as Kyren gives a round of applause there to the crowd, clearly acknowledging the support that he's going to get today. And he'll be up for this, especially if he's got the equipment to try and back it up with. Now we're just waiting for a good performance from his point of view. And we're going to be set for a brilliant matchup here. Another thing that is going to be slightly against Kyren so far is that we've had 3 players from England feature so far in the Masters in the first round, and all 3 of them have actually lost out to players from China. Mark Selby, Shaun Murphy and Gary Wilson yesterday, losing out to the likes of Zhao Xingdong, Weezer and Xiao Guodong. So we've already got 3 players from China in the quarterfinals. And of course I've got one more from Northern Ireland, the Pistol, beating the Welsh pudding machine yesterday. And now as the handshake goes in between the players, it is going to be Jiahui to get us underway for the first frame of the first round of the last 16 of the Masters in 2026. Now then, we have seen a couple of bad breaks in the previous matches of the first round, but this certainly is not going to be one of them. Jiahui is off to a good start, and the keyboard control clearly not letting him down this occasion, getting the black to be covered up by the reds. So may just have to wait slightly more time than usual for one of the players to get a chance there, unless Wilson, of course, wants to try and play for the blue. He's got a chance to go for this long red, and that will give us a chance to see what style of play do we expect from Wilson. He's gone for it, and he's missed it by a very slim margin, so it was very close. And indeed, he was playing the cue ball to be sent to the top part of the table anyway. The problem for Wilson was, of course, the fact that the red has followed him, and it stayed quite close to the green pocket on this occasion. So Wilson straight away will feel like he's given away a chance here. Probably couldn't really guarantee himself anything with that shot, especially if the red was going to bounce away from the pocket. Managed to get the cue ball safe. but didn't manage to do the same thing with the red. And now Jiahui is off to a good start, getting that red, which wasn't easy. And it's all about the angle that he's got on the brown. Doesn't seem to be too pleased about it, though. So may have to consider just rolling the cue ball behind the yellow. Sometimes it is going to be the right shot to play for you anyway. And even when you don't really want to do it, especially with the attacking player that Jiahui is. And Jiahui just saying that, you know, when his Triple Crown record is basically got his Crucible debut on the CV, which has actually seen a remarkable campaign, reaching the semi-final spot and losing out to the eventual winner, Luca Brissell, despite leading by 14 frames to 7. And that's a bad start there from Wilson, because, you know, if the first miss was actually, you know, more of a positive thing, I would say, because even though he missed that red, he was very close to it. Showed some great cue ball control, but trying to escape from a snooker. He's left an easy red out for Jiahui. And it's all going to be about if the player from China is able to get himself lined up for the pink. I mean, he's very straight on this red, and of course, with him aiming this one towards the pocket, has to be careful that he doesn't go into the left middle with the cue ball. And I mean, he's managed to play a decent shot, because avoiding the middle pocket helps, but landing perfectly on the side cushion, onto the top part of the blue though. As I say, the black is out of position for now, and will be, unless he can on the cue ball into the red that is going to be located right next to it. So for now, Jiahui has to try and get as many points as he can. Plays a very nice shot for now. Gets himself lined up for this red to be taken into the left corner. And yeah, if he gets himself to try and hold the cue ball for the pink, I mean, once again, it will depend on whether pink will be respotted there by the referee. And he hasn't played a good shot now, because he managed to get himself a couple of reds in open play, but running himself out of position on the pink here. I don't think he'll take this one. Blue is spottable into the yellow pocket, and it's very close to being a mid-range shot, but still have to cue this one to perfection. And would expect him to go for this one, and would actually expect him to get it. And he will do. Brilliant shot there, and a good start from Jiahui, because had to play some difficult shots already, managing to get majority of them so far, despite missing out on the positional play after that opening red was spotted. Still a break of 12 points and counting gets him into a 20-point lead, which, you know, as we've seen in a couple of opening frames of the matches that have already taken place at the Masters, can still be quite important for you going into the second part of the frame. Once again, gets a bit too straight on the blue. Has got just about enough angle to force the cue onto the side cushion and try and play another difficult red. Try and take that one into the right corner pocket. Of course, the problem with taking that shot is going to always be the fact of, you know, not having the black in available play. So maybe he's going to try and get around the pink, get himself to be set up for the same pocket to be taken, and that's what he's tried. Now, has he fluked this red because he's missed it into the first pocket? He hasn't fluked it, and I think he's left it the same red away to Kyren Wilson. Well then, as I said, I think the thing that actually makes Jiahui's slight favourite there is mentally, of course. Kyren Wilson will be very aware of the fact that he had 3 players from England knocked out already, one of them withdrawn, of course. Ronnie O'Sullivan, going to be replaced by another Englishman that has got a very difficult task on his hands, up against Neil Robertson, the Saudi Arabia Masters champion, and of course the former Masters winners as well, back in 2022. And Wilson is off to a good start now. Wanted to probably have a slightly nicer angle and cannon on the pink. So yeah, I think he's going to be forced to try and go for the blue into the left middle. And yeah, of course, Wilson has been runner-up twice at the Masters. And the recent loss in the final was to Sean Murphy last season at the score with 10 frames to 7. You know, it was a pretty equal match until we reached probably the midpoint of it. And he just allowed Murphy to, you know, win slightly more frames than Wilson. And in the end, managed to take that one. Not comfortably, but still with a significant gap of 3 frames in the end. Wilson will try and make it third time lucky for himself. So now he goes for the red, strikes this one nicely, and clearly commits to going for that red. Very close to the pink spot into the left corner. Because probably all of that just suggesting that it's not going to free up the pink spot for now. And therefore the referee will have to find another place to try and respot the pink. Because Si Jiahui was trying to get himself on the pink previously. Didn't manage to do so, and in the end had to play a shot on the blue. Now then, I mean, Wilson clearly committing to go for this red under the black ball spot, but I don't think he's played it too good of a shot here, because he was trying to roll the shot with the rest and have the cue ball to bounce away from the black ball cushion. In the end, I think he's going to be very straight on this one. Therefore, his only chance of landing on the colour has to be trying to go for the blue. And one side cushion might not be enough there for him. So, of course, just checking if the pink is going to be available into the left middle. That will help. But the reason that he probably wanted to play for the blue rather than pink was because you can always have that cannon from the blue onto the main pack. And with the way that he's landing on the pink, gives him a chance to score 6 more points. But unless he's going to have that red available into the left corner, he's going to be very limited in terms of his options. And well, he's tried to get himself around the little black and red combination. In the end, he's managed to do so, but surely not going to try and go for it. Fully committing into the green pocket. I mean, he can try to do so. There's not real point in trying to go for the red without landing himself on the black. So, I mean, he got himself a chance. Is he going to be close enough? He won't be. Now then, he missed the red as he left the same red. I don't think he has. I think he's left it for a safety shot, potentially for Si Jiahui, but 20 points scored there by Kyren. Technically, of course, the highest break achieved so far in the match. Now it's over to Si Jiahui. Warrior versus Scarlet, the Sea the Fearless. Well, I mean, you have to say, both players have been struggling for form so far this season. Kyren has got at least a trophy to try and speak for himself. And still manages to remain the world number 2 of the rankings. But it's a bad shot there by Si Jiahui because, got a double kiss on that red combination, trying to send it down the table. And in the end, Wilson is able to recover with a brilliant shot. I think he's managed to get the cue ball in behind the yellow in relation to the only red, which was going to be an open play. That way, he sort of forces Si Jiahui to try and send the cue ball into the bunch of 7 reds. And just making sure he's not going to put any of them too close to the pocket. And he's managed to play that shot really, really well. And I think Wilson is not going to have the access to any one of those 7 reds. And the problem for Si Jiahui, though, he's still going to have one of the easiest safeties to play off the double cross. Well, double shot there, because he could have played this shot a lot better. Now then, as he got the cover from the brown, he does. And I'm not sure that was the plan there by Wilson, but if it was a very risky shot that he's taken on, but it seems to have paid off perfectly for him. And, well, it's a bit of a go on nothing now because for Si Jiahui, because it's go time or go home. Because if he misses this red into the left corner, which he probably is going to be forced into taking on right now, he's always going to leave that red next to the right corner pocket with the black being freed up. Surely is going to be the chance that will get Kyren Wilson into the prime opportunity to get the opening frame on the board. So far as we've seen, it can be important. Mark Allen has won his opening frame. Weezer has done so as well. And so has Sao Godon and Jiao Xington. So whoever got on to win the opening frame has got on to win the entire matches of the first round so far. Of course, Mark Allen probably was the only one of the players that actually gone a frame down before he's managed to win 5 on the bounce and take it away from the Welsh body machine. That has actually said that he wasn't playing too well. Something that we've seen in an interview from Sean Murphy as well. I haven't seen that from Mark Selby, but I don't think he will be happy with the way that he's performing against Salgadon either. So it has to be now or never, as I say, from Si Jiahui. More than a minute taken on the shot. Now then surely he has to try and knock it into the left corner and just commit to it fully. He has committed to it, and has he managed to get away with it somehow? It looks like he has. I mean, he got all sorts of cannons onto the cue ball. Touched about half of the reds that were on the table. And ultimately managed to take one of those reds away from that right corner pocket. So Yeah, Wilson doesn't have anything easy presented to himself. And probably just has to try and get the cue ball into the cushion first. And pushing it off the side into the red. Managed to play the shot pretty well. Doesn't want the black to be covered up though, and I think he's managed to avoid that. Let's say still Jiahui against Jiahui, John Higgins against Barry Hawkins. And of course Kyren Wilson against Jiahui right now. Before we're going to have the last match of the first round. It is going to be Neil Robertson against Chris Wakelin, replacing the 7-time world champion Ronnie O'Sullivan that has pulled out of the Masters for medical reasons for the second year in a row. Yeah then, another good shot by C as he gives the turn back to Kyren. So probably the only limitation that he's left of an attacking option is going to be that red that he can try and roll into the right corner. Now then, Kyren Wilson seems to be very quick to get down on the shot, and he's gone for this red, and he's managed to get it. Now then, is he going to be on the colour? I don't think he is going to be. So that's a brilliant shot that doesn't look like it's going to get any sort of reward there from Wilson, because, you know, if you play a good safety right now, probably he's going to be slightly over the worthless shot. If he manages to get the cue ball in behind the yellow, that will be giving him, well, at least some sort of advantage. And that's what he's played, trying to get the cannon off the green. Good shot there from Wilson, because it looked like the cue ball was going to be slightly shy of face, but in the end it wasn't. And back to Jiahui we go. So far the match is played in probably the best possible fashion. Both players trying to take their chances there. You know, the opposition has presented himself, and yeah, Wilson seems to be getting really close to majority of his long pots. He got 2 already. He was very close to the opening shot of his match as well. And despite him only producing the break of 20 points so far as his maximum, still only 4 points away from C here. Therefore, still in with a good chance of taking the opening frame. Hey, bro, were you watching the stream? I've got it on the WSD replay. And I'm pretty sure you can watch it on the TNT Sports as well. But had a bit of a delay on that one, so I've just gone for the streaming service. So once again, not for the first time that we see short time taking more than a minute for Jiahui. And you're just having a look to see, because that just proves how well the previous shot was played there by Kyren. I mean, the broadcasting team have actually signalled that the red not quite closest to the right corner pocket, so sort of in between the black ball cushion and the right side cushion as well. He's going to be targeted there by C, but you can't really understand the way that he's going to get that one safe unless he tries to roll the cue ball in behind of it, and he's going to be shy of pace. Well, this is the decision time once again here for Kyren, because does he go and does he commit to this shot into the left corner pocket? And the answer seems to be no very quickly. Does that cost? Yes, Thomas. It depends on which region you're watching from, but you're not going to be watching snooker in 2026 for free. And yeah, it is going to be 4 points given away though to Kyren. And it's back to square one, 25 points each. Trying to battle it out for the opening frame, but massive advantage Wilson, because he's the player that got the snooker lined up on Jiahui. And yeah, he's going to get another 4 points there, Kyren. And once again, straight away, gives the turn back to C once more for the third attempt. I think at this stage, you probably have to consider trying to make a contact with the red on the side cushion. I mean, the only thing I would say, though, is on the second occasion, Jiahui was probably quite further away from that. And once again, he's not going to get closer on the third attempt. Just seems to be getting that cue ball perfectly in the gap of the 3 target reds. Probably 2 of them in the main manner. And Jiahui just having one more look to see. The adjustment has to be made, and of course has to be closer to the bulk line in terms of hitting that side cushion. That's a lot better, but I think he's managed to make too much of an adjustment. And where's the cue ball going to finish? Well, it's still not going to be in the position for Kyren Wilson to be taking the play. And attempt number 4 doesn't end up with anything different than the previous 3. So has to sort of try and get that cue ball in between the 2 lines that he was taking previously. Attempt number 5 right now. And the line seems to be perfect. Now then, is he going to get this red safe? He's managed to hit it. Has he managed to get his save though? I think Wilson is going to be able to go for it along the side cushion. And you can see there's not going to be a lot of happy face there from Jiahui's point of view. It does seem to be pretty disappointed. You know, giving away 20 shots, 20 points I should say, might not be the worst thing that he's done here, because leaving the shredder out to Wilson, with the way that the Reds are positioned right now, it is going to be all about the first colour, and Wilson is able to take the position to his hands. And yeah, if he guides the pink into the left middle, he's going to be able to just stun the cue ball away. And well, can he get through to the black now? And this camera angle certainly suggests that he can, and that changes the entire complexity of things. Because as much as it was difficult for Jiahui to try and get that red, I don't really understand what he was trying to do there, because despite him leaving so many points on the table there for Wilson in terms of foul points, he still didn't manage to get anywhere near getting that cue ball safe, even when he managed to hit the red. And with the black being playable, surely that was the wrong decision to be made, but hindsight is a beautiful thing. Sometimes you can judge things which you think are obvious, but it wouldn't be so obvious when you actually played those shots and you miss it on the 4 previous occasions. But of course Wilson won't have to worry about that one just yet. He's 21 points clear. He's got 67 of those still at the table. And as he plays the pink into the right corner, so hand the black to go onto the top part of the table. Who do you think wins tonight? So I think I was always going to go for Wilson, because I think that both of the players didn't actually play that well so far this season. But I just think when you've got the world number 2, and I know that so far, when it's been in English against China Derby, we had the man from China win every single time. But still back Wilson on this one, especially if he says that he's been enjoying himself and playing well. And then you've got John Higgins against Barry Hawkins. Well, you love Barry, you always do, but you just think like it's going to be John Higgins' match to lose. You know, the class of 92, we've lost 2 of them already, Mark Williams and Ronnie O'Sullivan. One of them hasn't actually started the campaign. Surely we're not going to go with missing out on all 3 of them into the quarterfinals. So Kyren Wilson and John Higgins for me. But for now, when you focus on the afternoon match, you have to say Kyren Wilson is very close to getting himself a frame on the board. Probably needs 2 more red and colour combination. Gets the first red in nicely, so 34 points clear. It's going to be 39 with this blue to be taken. And gets the cue ball once again off the side cushion. And played some good shots so far, Kyren. Getting the highest break of the match so far with 27 points and counting. Make that 28. As he rolls another red in. So then pink for the frame. Barmy Snookers to be Kyren Wilson's for the taking. Remember, he did have a horrible campaign at the UK Championship, saying that as soon as he walked into the arena, and after the couple of earlier misses in the opening frames, he wanted to just shake the hand of Elias Lesser and get him out of the arena. But with respect to the fans and to the players that were missing out on competing at the UK Championship, he tried to compete until the end and still ended up losing by 6 frames to 4. Now then, he's not going to be losing the opening frame, I'll tell you that for free, because 47 points advantage with 35 at the table. Doesn't look like we're going to get a first 50 plus break though, because didn't manage to get the cue ball with the perfect control. So the break of 32 does look like that is going to be the end of Kyren Wilson's scoring board. He gets the contact with the red, but he's not going to get it either pocket, so surely then Jiahui won't see a point in coming back to the table, and it is going to be Kyren Wilson 1, Jiahui 0. As we go on to the second frame, Kyren Wilson is off to a good start, but Jiahui has had his chances, and it does look like that brilliant long shot, which at that point looked like it was always going to be 1 point scored. Wilson is able to find a brilliant snooker late on Jiahui, got him 20 points with all the fouls, 16 I should say, but the 5th attempt wasn't any better there for Jiahui, because despite him managing to hit the red, he left the same red away into the right corner pocket, and Wilson was able to produce the break of 32 points, which got him comfortably over the line. And he's going to mean that Kyren Wilson leads Jiahui by 1 frame to 0. And if we've got the same stats working out for Wilson in the previous 4 matches of the Masters in 2026, whoever won the opening frame has gone on to win the entire match quite comfortably. So once again, that will just boost the confidence of Wilson, because I'm, well, very much expecting him to be aware of that stat. Jiahui probably won't, and if he is, then he'll try to get that one out of his head, because, you know, when you've got two players like those two, Wilson and C, I think it's going to be a very, very close match. Although you probably thought that about the majority of the matches being played, and so far it's always been the same scoreline of 6 frames to 2. Now then, Jiahui probably wants this second frame more than anything now, because he can't afford to be leaving that too cushion of a margin in terms of frames for Kyren Wilson. He's now carrying to go for a break-off shot, has to try and replicate what C has done in the opening frame, and try and get him into the comfortable position for the first safety play of maybe a couple of those, as we've seen in the opening frame. That one taking pretty much 30 minutes since it started, till the last ball was spotted by Kyren Wilson. And it's a wonderful break once more. And just like it was for Jiahui's break, you know, he got the black covered up by the red. And just like Jiahui's done in the opening frame, he's also left one of those reds potentially available to his opponent. You know, what happened when Kyren Wilson saw that opportunity? He's taken it into the left corner pocket, missed it of course, and couldn't quite get him off to a good start in that frame. And certainly was expecting Jiahui to try and do a similar sort of thing, but I think probably compromised by the fact of the black not being available. There was no real chance of him trying to play for the blue or the pink. And Kyren will try to ensure that doesn't happen again, as he frees up the black nicely. So once again, just confirming the attacking mindset that both little players will be trying to head into the second frame with. And well, let's see if Wilson's left a chance here for C to try and get the cue ball to bouncing away from that red and back to the black ball cushion. Not quite on this occasion. So he's obviously trying to get the cue ball onto the top part of the table for now, and leave Wilson with a chance of spraying those reds away from each other. Wilson tried to play it safe, but you know, he only just about got enough power on the cue ball for it to roll over the baulk line. So, you know, as I say, that was a risky shot for him to play, but because he's played it so well, not going to give any sort of a momentum breaker over to his opponent. May still give out a long shot opportunity though, despite probably going to have to refuse that one. Once again, there's not a real path for the cue ball to travel on for the black. Now then, this does look like the cue ball is going to be way too pacey here, and the same red that I said Jiahui couldn't take on previously. I mean, it doesn't really have to be the same red there. Kyren Wilson seems to be the man on the charge, playing the better safety, and you know, when it comes to the attacking play, especially if he knocks this red in, he certainly will be the man to beat in the opening couple of frames. And once again, brilliant pot. Once more, just confirming that Wilson is not going to mess around when he's got the equipment, when he's got his form, which probably is slightly too early to talk about. But the early signs of a frame and a half here have actually been really, really promising there for him. Just has to try and establish himself with a black being rolled. Take all the pace of that once again. Sometimes you could say that you risk the black phasing away from the pocket, but Wilson clearly didn't have that on his mind. Playing with great conviction on the shot, maybe having the angle on the cue ball to try and set it into the main bunch of reds. Played another great shot, despite, you know, all of the 13 remaining reds, as he takes 2 of them out of the table, being, well, quite bunched up together, despite, you know, him having the ability to maybe try and take one at a time there. He gets the perfect positional play on the cue ball. Now that has got a bit of distance in between the cue ball and the black to try and catch up on. Plays another beautiful shot. He's going to have the opportunity to stay on the black for a couple of more shots there. So that is going to be an absolute delight of a position for the snooker player to try and work his way through. It's going to be a horror show for Jiahui, of course, because, as I say, he needed this second frame, and it does look like it is going to go same way that the first one is finished. Remember, C had a couple of his own chances in that opening frame. It looked like he was going to be the man to beat. And all of a sudden, Wilson was able to establish himself as the dominant force. That brilliant long shot has allowed him to dictate the run of play pretty much for the remaining part of the frame. Now, when it comes to frame number 2, we've got 24 points scored and counting here for Kyren. As once again, he has got the ability to stay on the black for a couple of more shots. Because, you know, if you are going to have dreams about 147, he's probably quite earlier on, but he's got the remaining reds in perfect position there. All of them on the lower part of the table. The pink is going to be pretty much there or thereabout on his spot. And there's not really going to be too many of those reds which you have to try and cannon into for you to make the perfect angle on any one of them. Now then, just try and push the cue ball through the shred and get yourself lined up for the black for the 5th time. Takes the red in nicely. Wants to make sure he's keeping that and maintaining the angle that he's got on the black. He's got it for this time. Doesn't seem to be too happy with it though. Maybe just wanting the cue ball to be slightly further up the table. To go 40 points clear and will surely be establishing himself as someone that he's going to have this frame to lose. Well, I mean, he's gone for the right-hand side of the table, which maybe will just be tempting him to go for this red along the side cushion and into the right corner. Now then, another great shot, and well, no, this is turning into a real chance there. I know that it's only going to be the 6th black that he's taken on right now, but, you know, he's taken probably the most difficult of the reds out of the game. And barring nerves, no, probably not going to get complacency so earlier on, but he's going to have a good chance of getting himself lined up for a couple of those reds. And, well, he's not going to be happy about this one. I mean, he was trying to get the cue ball onto the pink, and he compromised himself massively here. I mean, that's where you have to make your priorities straight. Do you go for this red and try and stay on the maximum, or do you try and go for an easy red? He's managed to recover, and he's played a really good shot there. He wasn't happy, you could see that in the background. And basically smacking the table, not quite with a fist like you've seen Ali Carter, Steve Maguire and Ronnie O'Sullivan do in the past. But still, he clearly was frustrated with himself. Now then, for the 7th red and black combination. The reason I've selected Wilson to win this match is simply because a good showing is long overdue. But you could say the same about Jiahui, but I get what you're saying certainly. And Wilson has managed to take advantage in the poll right now. Masters 147s, yeah, you can see that. You've got Ding Jiahui with 2, Stevens with 1, Mark Fu with 1, Mark Allen with 1, and Sean Murphy with 1 as well. Still, we're not even halfway there. But certainly points-wise, he's got a great opportunity to try and get it right to the top. You know, he's got the 8 red and black combination about to be completed. And he's got the remaining 6 reds very much bunched up closely together. The previous red, the previous shot that he's trying to counter the cue ball onto the pink has actually played probably a bit of a negative thing to him. And, well, has to make sure he's going to be able to see this red into the left corner. I think he's able to do that. He was very concerned as he was walking to the other part of the table, but he seems to have the angle to try and force that red through. And, well, that certainly, as I say, still quite earlier on to be saying that, but that certainly will be some way to announce yourself. And that certainly is going to be a great prover of the fact that Kyren Wilson is going to be back on the arena if he manages to execute another 15 shots or so. You know, he's about to make it a 72 over break, so get within 1 shot away of making it. His frame to be taken once again. Now then, needs the cue ball to run slightly more, and he's played another good shot because he's going to take a red, which, you know, is not going to be a problem in itself, but sometimes you have to say that when you try and play those reds so close to the side cushion, it's going to be a bit of an issue for you to try and get on the black. And once again, rolls it, just about enough pace for it to reach the pocket. So that is going to be his frame for the taking. And now, don't think we're going to care about the century break massively. We want the top prize here for Kyren. And, well, to be precise, he's got around 70 shots now to try and make his way through. He takes the black into the left corner pocket, wants to try, and, well, I mean, has he played a good shot now? I mean, I'm not sure if that red is going to get past the pink, and if it's not, then he's going to be in a bit of trouble. I think he's going to try and go for that red, so clearly playing for it in the past. And Asking the referee to clean the white before that shot is taken. Has to go for an extension as well on his cue. So yeah, it has to be taken right into the heart of the pocket for him to get the nice little angle on the black. And I think he's missed it, and he has missed his chance. So unfortunately, that could have been the perfect story for Kyren Wilson in that second frame. And well, it wasn't quite the case. You know, we're not going to care that wasn't a century break, but it was a real chance for a maximum break. And after doing all the hard work in a very early part of the frame, Wilson was just unable to hold himself together on a couple of those shots, and you know, running himself slightly out of position on that red into the right corner. Looked like that has done all the damage to him. He was unable to recover from that shot, and despite leading by 2 frames to 0, he pretty much could have put that match to bed. If he made the 147 mentally, you can imagine that Jiahui would have had a very different story for him to try and come back onto this match, being 2-0 down, and your opponent making a maximum break, both from the crowd perspective and for the simple confidence boost that would have given Kyren Wilson. But of course that wasn't the case. He got close, but he didn't get quite close enough there. You know, taking 10 reds and 10 blacks. He was 16 shots away there from making that perfect break in snooker. And he has to try and put that miss behind him. Take the positive from the previous frame. He still has got Jiahui with pretty much half an hour since his last pot time. And he's going to try and get himself into even a better position after the opening 3 frames. If he's going to be victorious in frame number 3 as well. For now, it's going to be Jiahui's shot to try and get us underway. Get this frame number 3 started. Same approach as on the previous break from him, and once again, even better outcome, I'd say, because I think he's managed to cover up all of those reds. You know, majority of them being quite close to each other, but the ones that weren't, still going to be covered up by the green here. And Wilson has to acknowledge the shot with a little tap on the table. Just having a little look to see if he's going to be able to get through to the lonely red on the left part of the table. As I say, confidence will be going through the roof for him. But what is it going to be on the mental point after missing that red into the right corner? And, well, he's very close there, so I'm not going to say that that was, you know, still on the back of his mind with that miss being taken. It was a really difficult shot that he's taking on, and he's missed it by a very slim margin. Still was getting the cue ball to the top part of the table, so clearly playing that with the safety approach in mind. And, you know, maybe he's left the same red available here to Jiahui. He's certainly going to have the angle to try and get the cue ball onto the top part of the table. And refuses that, so probably one of the first of those shots that we've seen refused by Jiahui, apart from maybe the starter of the second frame, which of course he's tried to avoid taking on into the right corner pocket. On the next shot, we have seen Wilson taking on the same red into the same pocket there after a misjudgment from C. So hasn't taken this one, just take a cross double on this occasion, and Wilson responds with another great shot there, just about missing the green on the way up the table with the cue ball. And getting those reds to spread away from each other in such fashion that you wouldn't have to call this position as a brilliant chance for either one of the players, but also, you know, if the black wasn't compromised, you'd say that it's a very dangerous position to give away for any one of the players. It's now just having a look there from C's point of view. He's going to be able to find his way onto the top part of the table. I think the obvious short selection has to be one of the reds on the left part of the table. If you get them with a very thin contact, you're going to be able to get the cue ball pretty much down the spine of brown, blue, pink and black spots. And get it quite close to the bulk cushion. Last pot time approaching half an hour is the safe for C. He's going to be, well, certainly very aware of the fact that he's 2-0 down. And he has turned this one into a frame to lose. And very close there onto getting the perfect touch of the red that I recommended taking on previously. And still missing out on that one. So he's got two more chances, one more chance like that. And as I say, of course, he can see the entire reds here, and he's got a couple of them to choose from, so he will be applying 3 misdraw to himself. So CJW just asking the referee, Rob Spencer, to make sure that the cue ball is responding in the perfect way. And we are going to go to the assistant referee for this one. Given the way that the Masters matches are being staggered, can I assume that you will be calling most of them? So I can tell you which ones, and it is going to be Wilson against Jiahui. Then it is going to be Jiahui against Jiahui. And then it is going to be, so I'm going to miss out on the Thursday quarterfinals. Then I'll do the quarterfinals on Friday, and then semifinals and the final, of course, on Sunday. So starting on Friday, we are going to have all of them here. Can't make, unfortunately, as I say, potentially could still see Mark Allen against Jiahui in the quarterfinal number 1. And it's another miss there from CJW, and you can see that he's clearly unhappy with himself. He was very, very close to getting to all of those reds on 2 of those occasions, but of course, the referee confirming with Kyren that he's going to ask him to put this one back, and yeah, the acknowledgement from CJW clearly suggesting that he was warned on this one. And well, has to make sure he hits the red right now. And of course, if a miscue or something was to occur, that he misses the contact on those reds, he would be punished very severely, and will be a loss of frame for him. Now then, has he managed to have the perfect escape though? I think he has, and was a bit lucky with the way that he cannoned the cue ball onto the green, but I think he deserved that luck for finding that perfect corridor to try and guide the cue ball onto the top part of the table. And yeah, in the end, that little kiss of the green just probably giving him the reward that he deserved at that end. Of course, Wilson had one of those lucky shots himself in the, I think it was the second frame, prior to that misjudgment from CJW. Let's see if Kyren still has a chance to go for a long shot. So far, he's managed to take 2 out of 3 here. And this one, I mean, I'm not even sure that he's tried to take a long shot. He's missed it by an absolute mile. And he still managed to control the cue ball perfectly. So I think that probably was one of the shots that he was just trying to get that red to cannon onto the black ball cushion, cannon it onto the ball cushion, and once again have it sent towards the lower part of the table once again. You know, getting the cue ball into such perfect position there for him certainly has helped. And now just looking to see if CJW is going to be able to get himself into a good position straight away. You know, he has got a long shot, which you could argue he can take on into the left corner. He was thinking about going for a safety of another choice. Now then, is he going to try and getting on the edge here? Surely he's not going to try and go from getting down to hit one shot and then taking the long pot straight away. And he certainly didn't do that. And he's played another great safety on this occasion, putting Kyren Wilson under a little bit of pressure right here and forcing him to try and do pretty much similar sort of thing there, catching one of those reds closer to the pink spot with a minimal effort and getting up a couple of them to go into the main bunch of reds right underneath the pink. And where's the cue ball going to finish? Is he going to finish in behind the yellow? Well, it certainly is a mighty effort there from Wilson. I still think that C may be able to get through to the left part of the table, but another angle, and you can see that he probably can't do that. So we all know what happened in the first frame when CJW had a similar snooker like that lined up on him. And yeah, you can see, so the first shot was actually the right one there. He can just about get through to that red on the left part of the table. Still had a very limited sort of portion at the red that he could actually aim at. And hasn't played a beautiful shot, but still manages to get the cue ball way beyond the bulk line. Leave a similar sort of a shot given away to Wilson again. And plays those reds into one another. And once again trying to find that colour to get the cue ball in behind off. And wasn't able to do that on this occasion, but still going to get the cue ball very close to the green, which might be putting the hand placement slightly more awkward there for C. And he's going to maybe just try and switch up the short selection for him. Once again, just getting that cue ball more or less diagonally towards the left part of the table from the green pocket. Didn't really seem to be happy with the way he struck that shot. And you can see why. Pushed one of those reds very close to the corner pocket. And, well, I mean, the kiss on the yellow was such a marginal one for him, because if you catch the yellow slightly more on the face there, Surely it is going to be a brilliant chance given away to Wilson, but instead, it's a very difficult safety to find his way through. 9 minutes since the last pot time on this frame here. On this match, I should say, because of course there was no long pots or any pots of these frames so far. The 8 points that you can see on Kyren Wilson's point tally were the 2 foul shots given away by Jiahui. But it does look like it's going to be roles reversed. And, well, 1 cushion escape is going to be very risky. That seems to be the option that Kyren Wilson is taking on. I mean, I say very risky. Can't really see anything else that is going to be available to him. He's trying to go for the red. Closest to the black ball cushion in the middle of it. And has he left out a red, though, into the right corner? Because, oh, he seems to be very close. Jiahui will have a mighty look towards it. Has Wilson managed to judge the power perfectly to have that red in the way of another red so close to the right corner pocket? And, well, you know, this angle doesn't actually make it any better. And the little sigh from Jiahui probably just suggesting that it's very close. And when he's so close, especially when you've got so difficult room to make your way through in terms of landing on the next colour, you have to say, the longer he takes on the shot, the more I feel like he's going to have to try and refuse it and just play the cue ball away onto the top part of the table. Maybe he's going to try and go for it now. Remember, he's very much an attacking player. But really, before he takes the shot, I'm just going to say, it looks to be like he's taking a risk that is not really there. And, well, I mean, it's a massive fluke, but it doesn't look like he's going to get him anyway. As I say, I don't understand why he was taking that one on. And, yeah, I mean, he got an unwanted touch on one of those reds, and he managed to get his way through onto that right corner pocket and still drop that red. But now, apart from taking the blue into the yellow pocket, which, remember, he's done before in this match, it's going to be his best chance of trying to continue this break. And surely that is going to be the difference between making this comeback or Wilson just running away there. This frame is absolutely massive for him. And that fluke can still play a very important role for him. Ooh, has he managed to overscrew this one somehow? I think he's going to be alright. Not sure if he was playing for that red combination. Closer to the black ball cushion. But he certainly is going to be lining up nicely on one of them. So it's all about trying to make his way through onto the black from probably the opposite side of the table. So a lot of top's been applied there on the cue ball and just has to make sure he's not going to be able to get in touch there with the black. Maybe just choosing to opt in for the option of playing the backspin instead, and that's what he's done. And he's played the shot absolutely brilliantly. So, I mean, despite it being such a, well, miraculous fluke there, we won't care about that one massively. You know, Wilson had a bit of luck in the previous couple of frames. we had one of his himself. And when he's had that mighty snooker lined up, well, on the previous shot, when he had such a nice angle on the cue ball to be in behind the brown, Wilson was able to get out of that situation on that occasion, but wasn't quite able to do so out of position on the yellow, or maybe majority of the crowd and Wilson himself thought he did, and in the end that wasn't quite the case. With Jiahui getting that red, you know, you can't say that he got it clearly, and he didn't touch any of those reds on the way in, but of course that won't really matter if he is to go on to win this frame, even though it's starting off with a fluke. If you talk about this break, getting himself onto 15 points of a cushion, 23 scored right now, and still doesn't look like he's going to be out of options anytime soon, unless it's going to be a positional play misjudgment made by Jiahui himself. And just when you say it, I mean, it looked like he actually made that of a positional misjudgment, but the cue ball is going to roll just about enough there for him to have a chance to play this red into the right corner, but you can see it does look like it's given him a chance for one more shot, but after he takes this red, the cue ball inevitably going to be popped into the other reds, and if he's going to be forced in taking the more difficult red on, he could easily miss this one and give a chance away. Now then, he's tried to judge the cannon on that red with the cue ball. Has he managed to judge it well? I think he has. I think he's going to have that room for the black to be taken into the left corner. Crowd certainly acknowledging that one for him. And yeah, once again, going to be slightly short of angle that he's going to need for the cue ball to bounce away from the black ball cushion. Bounce away from the side cushion as well. And get it lined up for that red to be taken into the right corner of the pocket. So then just checking to see if that's going to be the case for him. So if he takes this black on, I mean, yeah, he's thinking about going for the backspin shot. But once again, I mean, if he takes it with backspin, he has to make sure he misses that red on the way to the side cushion. And in the end, once again, so changed his mind 3 times. And in the end, gone to option 1. Just trying to force the angle naturally. He was always going to sacrifice the next position on the black. But as long as he can try and get this red in, maybe he's going to try and have the cue ball bounce away for the blue. And he's managed to recover fully right now, because he's played a great shot on the blue to be taken into the right middle. I'm going to have a perfect chance to get the cue ball to the lower part of the table once again. And we could be here for a great shout of the first 50 plus break for Jiahui. Remember that the only one that we've seen so far was in frame number 2, and that was a brilliant maximum attempt. Or brilliant it was, until the 11th red came in the way of Kyren Wilson. And as he ran himself slightly out of position, he wasn't able to do anything with it in terms of getting that red into the pocket. And ultimately that cost him a chance of making that 147. Now then, Jiahui just looking to see. Of course, he doesn't have to worry about making 147 himself, but he says that he's going to be worried about taking this frame away from Wilson and getting the gap down to just a single frame of a deficit in between the 2 players. And if he gets the cue ball to play onto the black into the left corner, so that's going to be a break of 52 points. So indeed it is going to be the first 50 plus break being made by C himself. Once again, just like it was on the previous red and blue combination, he's going to have the side cushion to be a bit of a bouncer for the cue ball. And head straight for the blue. This time around it is going to be for the opposite side of the table. So he's going to try and take it into the left middle. Over on slightly, but I still think that he's going to take this one over, being under the blue line. So 45 points advantage. It's going to be 50 after the blue disappears. And disappear it will. Once again, nicely controlled there from Jiahui's point of view. And it is going to be more and more likely that we are going to witness a 2-1 of a deficit for Jiahui to try and overcome. Because he's not quite over the line. He's going to have a couple of difficult reds for Wilson to try and make his way through, should he somehow return back to the table and back to the action in this frame. But this will be the perfect response there from Jiahui, because he's managed to keep Kyren Wilson quiet for the majority of this frame. Remember, since that red being missed into the right corner, we still haven't seen any pot or a realistic chance for Wilson to try and go for a pot himself. It does look like it is going to be Jiahui to take the 3rd frame away from him, but he does seem to be slightly concerned with the angle that he's got on this red, so he can clearly go for this one. It's not going to be a difficult shot at all. So he's clearly thinking about, you know, two shots ahead there for him. So 51 points advantage. It is going to be 58 with the black. So just rolls the cue ball through the side cushion once again there, you would think. And just trying to get in behind one of those reds to take into the left middle or the left corner. It does look like he's committed to be taking the red into the left middle for now. And yeah, he's just having a look at the scoreboard. So if he is to go 59 points clear right now, yeah, he's going to need 2 more reds to be taken. So he needs a red, a collar, and then 1 more red for him to be putting a couple of snookers in behind himself and his opponent. So he's not quite over the line. And he's got a couple of difficult shots to make his way through. This red should be taken into the middle nicely. And it does look like he's going to have to try and take it with power, which he will. Brilliant shot there from C. Not compromising himself on the black at all. Maybe he would have liked to be on the upper angle on the black instead. And, well, I say not compromising himself at all. He may have compromised himself, you know. Because he's going to get the black in. And trying to take that cue ball once again onto the side cushion. Try and cannon onto those reds on the way in. And ahead by 66 points, as you can see. 67 still at the table. And, well, he's having a very good look to see if he's going to be able to go for this red into the right corner. Probably going to be very similar to the one that Wilson was attempting, actually. Because different points of the frame, but probably similar sort of pressure on it. Remember that Wilson had that frame wrapped up at that stage, but he was going for something a lot more special than just a frame win. And a perfect break in snooker. So Jiahui has to go for an extension himself, so it does feel like a lot more of a deja vu for all the players here to be taking the shred on. And is it going to be the same outcome? Is Jiahui going to be able to put him in with a dominant force of the third frame? He certainly was able to do so. And surely now, no way back for Wilson into this frame. And see Jiahui manages to halve that deficit. Wilson will be disappointed. Of course, can't do anything about it. He hasn't done anything wrong in this frame so far. And he was smiling when that fluke came in because he clearly didn't expect Jiahui to try and go for the blue, which you did. And what started as a very lucky fluke and a very fortunate escape has finished as a brilliant break there by Jiahui. And a break of 82 points, of course, means that it is the highest break that we've seen so far in this matchup. And it does look like the break that will take us into the fourth frame. Although Jiahui doesn't look like he's going to be done with this one just yet. Lines up on the blue to be taken into the middle. Still, I mean, it's a possible 1-4-1 of the break, but it's going to be down to 1-3-9 if he takes his blue on. And also, I think he's going to have a very difficult job of taking the remaining three of those reds with colours of any choice there, let alone taking those with the black. But he's still fine for now. He takes a difficult shot along the side cushion into the right corner pocket. The job is not going to get any easier for him though. Takes the black from the side cushion with a cue ball, but plays another beautiful shot. So he's still on the charge here for the century break. Of course, the highest break as far as I'm aware is going to be that break of 137 points made by Wu Yize. So drops one more red there. So Jiahui certainly is on the run to make it a century break. Just needs this black to roll into the left corner. And he will be a miracle of a break. And he's played that one with power, clearly trying to get himself lined up for the red. Don't know why he was not focusing on trying to drop the black in a sort, but in the end, it's not going to be the end of the world at all for him. He's now only one frame away from Kyren Wilson after the break of 97 points, started with a fluke, finished with a bang. That's the story of Jiahui so far. And he needs another frame to get him back level on terms and have a great chance of still trying to challenge Kyren Wilson onto the second mini session. For now, it is Kyren that leads Jiahui by 2 frames to 1 as we approach frame number 4. Kyren once again has got that 53% of the poll going his way. After the early stats have actually said that Jiahui was going to be a massive favourite, voted by the community. Saying that he was going to be 65% up on Wilson, with Kyren settling on for 35%. Of course, was followed was 2 frame wins for Wilson, getting the breaks of 32 in the opening frame as his highest, and having that 1-4-7 chance in the second frame, getting as far as 80 points scored, and in the end still came short, missing out on red, which was very similar to the one that Jiahui has spotted in that frame number 3. And, well, right now it is going to be Jiahui trying to be the favourite to take this 4th frame away from Wilson and therefore put himself right back in the game. Remember, before the match has started, Wilson was coming into this one as quite a significant favourite by the odds, 144 to his name, in comparison to 275, so pretty much twice the favourite there. And right now, we are going to see if it is going to be Kyren Wilson to try and get him off to a good start. He needs a good break off from the left-hand side once again. So far, Jiahui was able to get the most out of his break-off shots in the opening frame and the 3rd frame as well. And Wilson seems to respond nicely, getting the cue ball to bounce away off the right side cushion and off the black ball cushion as well. Now then, is it going to be another long shot taken here by Jiahui? He has refused one of those in the second frame. He's going on to lose that frame. And let's see if he's going to try and take the dominant power of the third frame. And, well, I mean, he's going to get lucky, it would seem. He's going to get very lucky if Wilson is not able to see this red onto the left corner. He missed it by a slim margin there, see. Wasn't quite able to get the red to drop, and got a double kiss which forced the cue ball onto the top part of the table anyway. And, well, the cue ball is going to bounce away off a safety shot there from Wilson. Safety success, as you can see, 88% from Wilson and only 57% from Jiahui so far. So, you know, Wilson is going to be the dominant force in the majority of those stats so far. 91 pot success percentage-wise for Wilson, 89 for Jiahui himself. So more mistakes on both of those stats, manners, from Jiahui's point of view. But you have to say, could have been a very different story had you seen a chance given away to Kyren Wilson in that third frame. Average shot time 20 seconds and 28 seconds in favour of Wilson again. But, you know, sometimes it is going to be easier for you when you have that. More of table time, especially when it comes to break building stats. Highest break, as you can see, 80 points being made by Wilson and 97 by Jiahui. And it's an absolute gem of a pot that we found from Kyren Wilson's point of view. And that is surely going to be the way for him to try and get back in charge of this matchup. Brilliant shot that he makes. And certainly deserves to be on the brown. And wow, I mean, he nearly jumped the brown there on the way in. I don't think it is going to be a foul being called by the referee. So it was very close. But, I mean, it was a mighty of a jump. And Wilson knows that got slightly out of hand. Of course, it wouldn't be a foul shot called anyway. Because, you know, if you manage to get over the brown, Wilson would not have been able to pot it. And, well, it does look like it is going to be only 5 points scored on the break. And Wilson trying to get that black into the open play, but still making sure that he's not going to sacrifice too much of the safety play for himself. And getting the turn back to Jiahui here. So see will have a look himself to witness the position that he's got on this red available into the left corner. And just making sure he's going to be in there with a shout of going for one of those attacking options. I think this one is going to have a chance for him to try and get the cue ball to the top part of the table. We've seen him start off this fourth frame for himself with taking a similar shot on to the right corner pocket. Now then is he going to try and get this one into the left corner? Not on this occasion. So he does seem to be filtering the kind of shots that he goes for so far. And this one he's going to keep just the safety shot that he's played. Getting the cue ball to be lined up perfectly on the black ball cushion. So leaving out a chance for Wilson to try and maybe go for a shot into the green pocket. Remember, it's probably one of those shots that you would expect the players to go for. And sometimes you have to say, maybe it's not going to be into the green pocket. Maybe he's going to try and get this one into the right middle, which he did. And he's played another wonder shot there, Wilson. And surely, if it wasn't for that fluke, he'd be eyeing his points on that 4-0 of a cushion. Taking into the second mini session. And right now he just needs to get this green into the right middle. And he's going to be in with a great shout of re-establishing his chances to go for that 3-1 advantage. 10 appearances at the Masters so far. Debuted in 2017. Matches that he's managed to win. 9 out of 18. So 9 wins, 9 losses. 10 century breaks. Highest break so far. 139. And 2 finals that he's got to. He's gone on to lose both of them. And right now just scores 10 points here in general. 5 on the current break. And being on the wrong side of the blue, he can try and take the cue ball down the table if he wants to. Or he can try and maybe go for a diagonal shot on the pink. And just force the cue ball well enough into the left part of the table. And, well, trying to use too much of the jaw in the end. And I'm not too sure what he was trying to do there, to be honest with you. Because he's nowhere near an easy shot on the red. Maybe, well, to be fair, if you managed to get the pink into the heart of the pocket, it would have been a lot straighter on this red. So still would expect him to pot this one. I support Kyren. I hope for a big win. Well, certainly not going to be alone on this one, and probably same for me. I don't really have a massive horse in the race. Both of the players are going to be very well liked from my perspective, simply for the reason of, they play very much an attacking snooker, and they just seem to go for it, which produces a great show and a great thing to watch for the fans, and that's going to be a confirmation of that. Brilliant shot there by Wilson, if he's landing on this raid, trying to go for a split of the bunch. And once again, he doesn't look like he's going to be perfect on this raid, but at least he's going to be in there with a shout. Ooh, I mean, that is very close in terms of, is it worth taking this shot on? I mean, you probably have to, because it's a great chance, but the rate that he's pushed over the right corner pocket is going to be very nearly in the way of another one. Wilson is usually so great with those arrest shots, but this is going to be very, very close to being marginal, but he's played it perfectly, just about into the front part of the jaw without touching the jaw. Just makes this shot played in a perfect fashion, and once again, you can see on the replay, he was comfortably clear of not touching that red, and despite that, he didn't catch any one of those jaws, which of course in that case would have been the front jaw of that right corner pocket. So it's a brilliant shot being played by Wilson once again. Have seen Wilson knocked out already of the Masters. That was Gary Wilson, to the player from China, of Xiaoxington's brilliant performance. His opening win at the Masters, despite being here before, and right now he is going to be a bit of a misjudgment there on the shot, so not going to say from sublime to ridiculous, but certainly from sublime to a mistake. And he would have liked to see himself lined up for this blue to be taken, with the cue ball being sent to the lower part of the table. Instead, he has to make a decision on going for the difficult pink into the left corner, or going for the blue into the left middle instead, and trying to force the way of the cue ball around the bulk area. Does seem to commit to the shot that is going to be more difficult on the potting angle for him. He has got a plant that the camera is going to focus on as well, that he can try and take into the left middle, if the cue ball is going to be very much close to the right part of the table here. Now then forces the red nicely into the left corner to go 33 points clear. And of course the story of the match so far is that, not going to say not points scored, but second, third and fourth frames so far, whoever's gone on to win has gone on to win without the opposition player not having any of those reds or colours potted. Wilson had 8 points on his tally in the previous frame, but that was off 2 foul shots made by Jiahui himself. And a similar story to Jiahui there in the second frame, because that was the brilliant effort of a maximum break from Wilson, which has seen him get as far as 80 points scored. And wasn't quite enough on this occasion, of course. And, well, it was very close, once again there, Wilson, to playing a bad shot. And just waiting for the confirmation that he is going to be able to get through to this raid. And, well, certainly not comfortable, but he can get through it. So he can see enough of the red to try and drop it into the left corner. Shouldn't be too difficult of a shot there, but way too close to not seeing enough of that. And therefore having the necessity to play a safety shot of his own. Leaving that plant as a backup option for now. Of course, that will result in 2 reds being available to him, as he just forces the cue ball through the pink. And 46 points advantage, 41 on the break. So approaching another 50 plus break being made by one of the top players here. Because Jiahui is going to have his top 16 position under threat massively, especially as he approaches the second part of the season here. Great shot there by Wilson, clearly trying to keep that plan till last and ensure that this break is going to be the one that takes him over the line and takes us into the intermission break. With, it looked like it was going to be Wilson's match to lose when he was 2-0 up, going for that maximum. And, yeah, I mean, he clearly not happy with this one, so just wait for it. He was not playing for this plant into the left middle. And, yeah, he doesn't seem to have landed on anything here, apart from maybe taking this red into the right middle here. But, I mean, apart from that red being on the black ball cushion, it does look like he's not going to be having any insurance to his name. But for the attacking player, here he is. And with the cue ball being so close to this red, surely you have to try and go for it. But whatever you do, make sure you catch it on the front jaw so that the cue ball is going to stay into the zone, and the red is going to be somewhat close to being onto the lower part of the table. So he's changed his mind there, Wilson. I'm not sure if he was always going to try and go for that green pocket shot, and he has turned into a bit of a disaster because not only did he miss the red into the green pocket, manages to somehow squeeze the cue ball into the right middle. And what looked like a win being very much close to the taking there from Wilson. Now has turned their frame on his head there. 49 points of a difference. It's not going to be enough there with 75 points at the table. So you see Jiahui's going to have a ball in hands and a great chance of going for the same red that was missed by Wilson previously. As he takes it nicely into the middle. And as I said previously, you know, we've got one more red being in open play. We've got three more reds being so close to each other underneath the pink spot. And then you've got the last piece of the jigsaw surely for Jiahui in terms of the difficulty mode. But he has to try and do something with that red being so close to the black ball cushion, but not perfectly on it, which is going to be even more of a compromise if he tries to take that shot along the black ball cushion. 43 points behind, 67 remaining, so he's not going to be showing points, that's for sure, if he makes or gets somewhat close to the total clearance here. But he's got 4 reds to make his way through for now. And I don't think he's played a good shot previously because he needs to make sure if he plays for the pink right now into the left middle, he should be just slightly underneath that straight line of the pink to be taken into the left middle. So, you know, take the pace of the cue ball with just about enough power, which is what he's done. Maybe pushed it slightly too close to the side cushion, leaving slightly more of a difficulty on this shot right now to be taken. So good news is the cue ball is always going to go into those reds, but the bad news is if he plays this shot with very little power, can't really risk the pot on. It's going to be difficult for him to guarantee himself a couple of those reds. Now then, he's played it with a bit of power, he got the pink in, and he's managed to separate those 3 reds perfectly away from each other. So it does look like, barring those 3 reds taken with the pink, which is not going to be an easy task as well, because of the black being out of position, it is looking more and more likely that it is going to come down to that red next to the black ball cushion not being in perfect position right now. 35 points of a difference. Make that 29 with the pink disappearing into the right middle. And Jiahui is going to have a chance to try and go for this red to be taken into the left corner. And once again, he's just studying to see that he's going to be able to drop the cue ball for the black to be taken along the black ball cushion, which is going to get the natural angle for the cue ball to try and maybe send it for that red to be taking along that part of the table. And of course, another benefit of that is having the black to try and take on his spot there, despite needing, you know, maybe a little bit of a bounce away from the cue ball to try and get himself lined up for the pink. Now then, all of those decisions have to come into place there for C, but I think he's played a horror shot there, and he says that he doesn't seem to be happy with himself. Body language suggesting that if he is able to go for these black, he's compromised himself massively on the red. Yeah, he's got no other option than to commit and go for this black. But, you know, it hasn't actually made this shot too difficult on the black point of view, but it pretty much made it impossible for him to be having an easy shot on the cue ball. And, I think he made the mess of that. Not even sure that he caught the black first. I think he might have to see 7 points given away there. And he clearly caught the red first. I think the referee and Jiahui will be aware of that. And 7 points given away to Wilson. 35 is going to be the advantage. So, the red that he's got available right now to his name, he's going to be a frame ball here, of course, because that will take him 36 points ahead with 35 at the table. Wilson is not there yet, though, as he misses this red, maybe leaving the same out away to Jiahui. The black has gone onto the top part of the ball cushion, so that's not going to be playable anytime soon, unless you get the perfect angle on it. Jiahui thought about going for a long shot himself, and in the end just committing to get one more red into the open play. But by doing that, you know, he didn't really judge the contact too well. And yes, he has managed to get one of those reds into the open play, but by doing that, cannon it into the other red. And therefore, it is 1 step forward, 2 steps backwards there for him. because it allows Wilson to try and put two of those reds onto the side cushion, the first one being already there after the previous shot of Jiahui. Wilson, of course, taking that invitation and getting the cue ball very close to those reds, but despite that, it's not going to be a real chance or an opportunity for Jiahui to try and get far enough ahead in this safety battle. And neither he's going to be able to get those two reds in open play for both of them, so that if he gets a chance, barring the black, he's going to have a good opportunity for a total clearance, which at this stage, of course, is going to be the necessity for him if he is to be the winner of this frame. He's played a really good shot there, to be fair. I'm not sure how much of that was judged in terms of the position of the reds. He was very close to dropping one of them into the left corner of the side cushion. And in the end, yeah, he was able to put all of them pretty much down the spine, in behind the yellow and the green. And, well, pretty much being alongside that brown, blue and pink combination. So forces Wilson to try and go the long way around, take the cushion first, and get the cue ball off two cushions right now. Needs a minor angle on those reds, and he hasn't played a good shot at all. So this frame is not over quite yet. Jiahui will have a chance to go for this red now into the green pocket. Let's see if he's going to be able to get himself in with a great chance here, though. And an outstanding first session. Enjoy the best in the world play. Well, I mean, that's certainly kind to them. I wouldn't say it's an outstanding session. I certainly think it's very interesting. And I think I have been way too many mistakes there. Not being too clinical, but certainly enjoyable to watch from the neutral's point of view. You know, you don't have a clue who's going to win. You've got some great attacking match going on, despite it being pretty much 90 minutes since we've started the first frame. And still haven't got a clear path to determining a winner of the fourth frame. A very important shot there from Jiahui, because he can't afford to be missing any of those colours here. Getting the blue into the right corner after having quite an awful land on it. Still, the position of the cue ball is going to allow him to try and go for this red into the right corner. Still has to be very mindful of the front jaw, and he wasn't mindful of it enough to ensure that he was able to get the red in. And the same red surely is going to be a nail in the coffin there for the chances of Jiahui of taking two frames in the first mini session. Ahead by 29 points, 35 at the table, so Wilson only needs the red, and preferably a colour for him to be clearly out of the picture. But of course the red will require Jiahui to be taking snookers off him, and that's not going to be the case. Brilliant shot there by Wilson, and surely there's no way back now in the opening mini session for Jiahui. And the curse of the Masters first round so far, with the opening four matches being ending with the scoreline of 6 frames to 2 I should say, still seems to be in play here. Because Wilson is halfway there. He's 3-1 up on Jiahui surely. 34 points clear with 27 points at the table. As he rolls the yellow to just ensure there's not going to be a way of coming back there for C. And for Kyren Wilson's supporting point of view, it is going to be pretty much the perfect first session. Because, you know, you can't really do anything about that fluke, which you have seen in frame number 3. And you probably have to say Jiahui deserved to win one of those frames. Probably not in that fashion. And still, will the intermission be half an hour? No, it should be 15 minutes. I don't know why you say it's going to be half an hour. Always 15 minutes there. And getting the blue to go into the left middle as well. So a bit of fan entertainment there for the fans. And Wilson can still try and end the frame here with a break of 32 points thing. If he gets both the pink and the black. And doesn't look like that's going to be the case. So Wilson's going to be smiling about this one. And he's got every reason to smile about the performance of the first mini session. Because he's going to be leading Jiahui 3 frames to 1. Going into frame number 5. Just in about 15 minutes time. So stay tuned in for this one. So far it has been an absolute joy to watch. And we still have no guarantee that it is going to be Jiahui or Kyren Wilson taking themselves into the quarterfinal, but we're about to find out just on who of these two players it actually will be in 15 minutes time. Stay tuned in.
I'm taking the world, you'll see. They'll be calling me, calling me. They'll be calling me royalty. Best to give me loyalty, 'cause I'm taking the world, you'll see. They'll be calling me, calling me. They'll be calling me royalty.
Right then, everybody, we are back and we are heading for the intermission break to be over as well. And Jiahui will be certainly looking to try and get a gap down to, well, at least a 1 frame for now, because it does seem like Kyren Wilson has got it under control for the time being, as he leads Jiahui with 3 frames to 1 under his belt. Now then, it's another break for Jiahui, and has he managed to get that red to stay on the lower part of the table? I don't think he has. And it is going to be a bit of a worrying start there for the player from China straight away. Getting the initiative back to his opponent. Certainly going to be a chance here given away to Wilson once again, as on those 5 occasions there that we've seen a break off. On the majority of those terms, we have seen the black being covered up by a couple of those reds. This frame is not going to be an exclusion. Now then, it's a beautiful shot there that Wilson has taken really nicely into that left middle, as he has got a chance to try and maybe get him. Just that one more of a frame of a cushion. So far you can see that. 1 from 2 breaks in terms of attempts conceded from the break, and well, 3 from 3 breaks there from Jiahui. So far, Wilson is going to be leading even in that aspect of the game. But wow, I mean, you certainly didn't expect him to be making a mistake like that. And that was, well, a bit of a calamity there from Wilson, because he had an easy green to be taken off the spot. And he just took an eye off the pot, completely misjudged that one, and got it into the front jaw of the pocket. Now then, it is going to be Jiahui to try and get himself back here. No, it's a great start for Kyren. Well, it was 15 seconds or so ago, but it's not really going to be a great start now, because it's Jiahui that he's going to be back at the table, and he's got this red that he can try and take into the right corner. He's going to be able to just apply a bit of backspin on the cue ball. Ooh, I mean, he's gone for another shot there, and you have to say that was all or nothing there for him in terms of, you know, he was always trying to get the cue ball lined up for the pink into the middle, but he was basically trying to plant there with so much distance in between the reds and not even being anywhere near the straight line. It was a brilliant shot though. Jiahui's back in the hunt there, or at least he tries to be. After that opening red misjudgment on the break-off shot, he was able to get himself back to the table, and he certainly managed to take the opportunity, taking those difficult reds into the right corner pocket. I think he'll have to stay on that part of the table for now, because of him not having any more options to try and take into the left corner for the time being. Average shot time gone down there, 28 seconds for Jiahui. Was 32 seconds after the opening 2 frames. Kyren Wilson 21 seconds on average, so it's really suggesting that, you know, majority of the table time for Kyren is being spent, I should say, onto their break building stuff, and he still leads them. Jiahui in the majority of those aspects, as is going to be total points tally, 243 for Wilson, 166 for Jiahui. Positional success 86% for Kyren, and 83% now for Jiahui, because, well, I mean, that shot apparently counts as a good positional shot, but I think he's absolutely made the mess of that. He's got a very difficult green, which has gone onto the left corner of the table because of that miss previously by Wilson. And he's got absolutely no guarantee of landing on one of those reds, and that was the case. And I think he hasn't landed on one here. I think he'll have to play a safety shot, and it was far from an ideal position, you have to say, from his point of view, but it still probably was the one that you would expect him to make slightly more points than just 17 there on the break. And giving a nice little nudge towards this cue ball. Just having a look, and I'm not sure if he's made the foul there. And yeah, so Wilson and Jiahui having a laugh about this one, because Jiahui was trying to give it a minimal nudge, and in the end got on to hit the foul there, so didn't quite manage to hit any of those reds, and Wilson just joking about it, asking the referee to put it back, and yeah, it would need an absolute delicate of a job for a referee to do that. And of course, in the end, both players settling that it's not going to be worth spending their time, because the cue clearly didn't move enough there, with such a minimal distance in between the reds anyway, and Jiahui was able to get that red with that second try of asking. So that's what Wilson is trying to do. Bit of exhibition stuff there for him. And I think on this occasion, it was going to be 4 points given away here to Jiahui. So let's see if he will ask for the favor to be returned. And yeah, I think it is going to be play again. So back to Wilson it goes. So a bit of a, slow burner now for this frame, because it is going to take a while for the players to try and actually establish themselves into a chance of actually taking sort of a considerable safety shots. For now, he's just trying to roll the cue ball backwards and forwards with no real progress to be made. So touch and ball there for Jiahui. So it does look like we're going to get somewhere here. And yeah, if you play the cue ball diagonally closer to the left corner, I think you can try and get it closer to the green pocket or something. I think that's going to be the way that Jiahui will be looking at this red right now. Because he doesn't have to try and play diagonally towards the green pocket. He just has to make sure he's going to be able to get it to the top part of the table, which, I mean, he's done a decent job of doing. But it's not going to be a perfect shot because the cue ball hasn't quite reached the bulk line. And that way, it is going to be Kyren Wilson in with a chance here. Don't think he's going to try and go for any one of those reds as a long shot because of the angle of the cue ball once again. Sending to the top part of the table. If you can please keep it English but only in the chat so that I can actually understand and treat the message and respond to it sometimes. And Wilson, I mean, don't really understand what he was trying to do there, because he was playing a shot that certainly looked like it was an attacking display. In the end, he certainly managed to get the cue ball to the top part of the table, and he's actually managed to get it perfectly behind the green. So the red that he's played for is ricocheting onto the left corner pocket of the table. But of course, with the cue ball being so close to the green, Jiahui can't reach it at this stage, therefore has to try and maybe use the same red as a point to catch on the cue ball's point of view. Because he's going to be able to try and get it off the side cushion, maybe bounce away from the black ball cushion as well. And just has to ensure he's not going to be leaving anything easy of a chance there for Kyren Wilson. Surely he's going to be the point, starting point there for him. So then, if you try and take it onto the diagonally, I mean, it also has to come back to the previous misjudgment there from Jiahui's point of view, because if he's played a better shot on the touch and ball that he's had, he didn't really have to find himself in this sort of position. And once again, I mean, he took a risk there. I think he's played this shot a lot better though. Basically was trying to roll the cue ball as close to sort of the main bunch of the reds, trying to cannon into one of them, which was away from the bunch slightly, and nearly pushed it far enough down the table for it to be playable. Another red that Wilson can try and take into the left middle. And it all comes down to the next couple of shots here to try and get this second mini session underway. Wilson there clearly trying to go for a plant. We've seen it for Jiahui before, but because it was different circumstances, despite the position being somewhat similar in terms of the reds being not in a straight line and very far away from each other, Wilson wasn't able to repeat the success of Jiahui on that particular shot. Of course, it happened in the same frame here, frame number 5. And now we need to see a response from Jiahui. Surely he's going to be able to drop this red into the corner, and he is able to do so. Where's the cue ball going to finish? He's going to bounce away from the ball cushion, and he's landed perfectly on the blue, you would think. Just about on the top side of it, so you can try and get onto the lower part of the table. Once again, the black is going to be covered up by one of those reds, which does seem to be the story of all of those frames, despite, well, maybe apart from the second one, with Wilson having 10 of those black spotted at the same time, of a single frame visit to the table on the second frame. Now then, Jiahui has got a very important shot to try and execute, because it is going to determine if he's going to try and send the cue ball into the main bunch of reds that he's tried. And, well, I think he's made the mess of that shot yet again. The positional play of Jiahui does seem to be way below average, especially when it comes to having those little cannons onto, you know, some groups of reds, or even like on this occasion where it was a large group of reds where you had sort of 7 reds concentrated, well, quite closely to each other. Could have tried and taken them one by one at that stage. He could have played the positional shot for some of them. In the end, he tried to make changes to pretty much the bigger part of it. I wasn't quite able to do so, and in the end, turn is going to get back to Wilson. Straight down to hit the shot with a straightforward cross double. One of those reds being sent towards the left part of the table. And he's managed to cover up the red for a long shot once again there. Then he's played a good shot, but if that is not the case, then it is going to be another invitation that you would very much expect Jiahui to be taking on here. Whether he's going to be able to get himself lined up for the collar is going to be another matter. And he seems to refuse there. So Jiahui does have a bit of a tendency in terms of, you know, you'll go for one of those long shots, and then no matter if he misses or makes it, you have to refuse the next one. So just 50-50 of those shot selections. And he's played a good shot in terms of the attacking approach. He's managed to get the black freed up of another red for a cross double, but the same red, after it bounced away from the side cushion, has been left away to Wilson, and would expect Kyren to get this one in. And, well, surprise for him to miss it. Now then, the cue ball is going to go right to the very top part of the table, but it's still not going to be enough there, because that red is going to finish in a similar position, but ultimately closer to the right corner pocket there. Jiahui has got a great chance to get himself a third opportunity to close off this 5th frame and get the second mini session underway under his rules. And, well, could have played this shot better, to be fair. Didn't really have to worry about the position of the cue ball. He was never going to miss that red into the right corner pocket. And, well, right now he's still got the brown that he can try and take into the middle pocket, but you have to say at this stage, it will be a very difficult shot for him to try and guide the cue ball to the lower part of the table. Oh, he's played it with power. He got the brown in, and what a shot that is. I mean, brilliant in terms of how straight that was on the cue ball, how he was able to still squeeze the brown into the pocket, and with that, still guiding the cue ball perfectly onto the lower part of the table. That certainly is going to be the perfect way to recover from the previous misjudgment. And surely now there's not going to be a third chance for Kyren Wilson here. Had a couple of those in this frame. And pretty much the story of the majority of those frames so far for Jiahui there is when he had his chance, he wasn't able to take all of them. Wilson, apart from that far from that third frame, was taking all the chances that Jiahui was presented to himself. And, well, doesn't seem to be the case at the start of the second mini session. 35 points advantage here for C, 91 at the table. And still he's still having a look there to see if this red is going to be dropped into the left corner. I think he might do that right now. And just try and stay for the black for the foreseeable future. He's got one more red that he can try and make usage of, taking it into the left corner or the right middle, with a straightforward angle that he can try and force on the cue ball. And he's able to do so once again. Off the side cushion, nice little spin. And getting the cue ball to stop with a perfect straight line there. Once again, having that ability to just try and play the cue ball with topspin, landing on the top part of the black, so that you can try and use the black ball cushion as a bounce away point for the cue ball to be heading towards those 3 remaining reds onto the pink. And then, of course, you've got 3 more reds currently sitting on the black ball cushion, closer to the left corner pocket. Now, a bit of backspin once again. And, well, I mean, I was very surprised there that Jiahui didn't try and play for the black to be taking. So, clearly feels like, you know, he doesn't trust himself too much in terms of having that ability to try and separate those reds away from each other. But, I mean, I said it was the wrong decision to me, and it certainly is going to be the wrong decision now. He was trying to make contact with those reds from the pink, and he's gone wrong straight away there. You can see that the cue ball didn't move any of those reds at all, and it's not going to have a chance of going for them here. So, So, yeah, Wilson, I mean, apparently there was a foul there being made by Jiahui. And Wilson, once again there, just seeing the funny side of it, just asking the referee to respot the cue ball. And about a millimetre work to be done there. So once again, good sportsmanship there from Jiahui. Of course, with no audio, sometimes it's difficult to understand what's actually gone on there. But clearly was trying to make minimal contact with the Reds. And in the end, just didn't manage to hit any of them at all. Was able to do so, though, on the second time of asking. Now then, the gap, 46 points, 75 at the table. And Wilson still in there with a shout of taking this frame away there from Jiahui. As this time around, doesn't give away any foul points himself. Plays the shot nicely. And Jiahui himself has to try and get the cue ball away from those Reds in a minimal way. He's able to do so this time. So back to Wilson it goes. Of course, it will be an ideal case scenario for Wilson to have a re-rack at this stage, but I think Jiahui might have a word or two to say about it and against it. Okay, so 3 shots each there, said by the referee. So, as I say, we are going to have a re-rack there, and that's going to be music to Kyren Wilson's ears. Surprised for the referee to say that so quickly, but you can understand it, to be fair. And, well, Jiahui clearly going to try and make things happen right now, because he's going to be the party that is interested in trying to maintain that 46 points of a cushion. And he was able to do so, getting the cue ball to be on the black ball cushion, putting some of the distance in between the cue ball and the Reds. Now then, is Wilson going to try and take the invitation to go for this Red into the middle? May turn into a frame that he's got really nothing to lose in. He's still got that gap of a frame advantage, and he's gone for a shot into the yellow pocket. He's missed it by a mile, though. I mean, he's literally missed it by a mile. I actually thought that maybe he was taking a safety shot there, but clearly the answer to that was negative, with the cue ball being so close to the middle pocket, so technically leaving 2 of those Reds away to Jiahui. And Jiahui taking a look there to see if he's going to be able to go for the Red to try and roll into the yellow pocket. And that one is going to be simpler for him to try and get positional play on one of those colours. And in the end, well, maybe it was a safety shot there, because Jiahui clearly refusing that Red on into the yellow pocket. Of course, I mean, surprised by that, because he's actually in a position where he can take risks. So, you know, you've got 46 point advantage. You've got 3 Reds compromised next to each other. You've got green being so close to the pink. And that could all be very important there come the end of the frame. But for now, he forces another mistake there from Wilson. And Jiahui, he's going to have a chance to go for the Red along the side cushion, but chooses against it. And might be tempted to try and go for the Red into the right corner. Has to be very careful, though, in terms of controlling the cue ball. Had to play with power, otherwise the cue ball would have cannoned into some of those Reds onto the black ball cushion. And in the end, it does look like it is going to be a straightforward snooker laid up there for Wilson. He's not going to have a chance to go for this Red. And if he just manages to get this Red to go past the brown, he's going to be able to put the cue ball in behind the 3rd cheapest colour here. I wasn't able to do so, but he still managed to do all the damage there to Jiahui. And yeah, as I say, he wasn't able to get the Red past the brown, so in the end he just decided to use that cluster of blue, pink and green next to each other. And still a difficult snooker there for Jiahui. Of course, the biggest problem and the biggest concern for Wilson was the fact that technically that Red could have been cannoned off the brown into the right middle. But as that wasn't the case, you know, we've seen the opening frame to be decided like that. But Jiahui had a significant points advantage at that time. I think it was 30 points or so. You know, he got 16 points of those away to Wilson. And, you know, what followed was a break of 32 points. Wilson was able to take that frame away there from C. Of course, different position right now. He's got a lot more points advantage there over Wilson. And, you know, for 4 frames, 4.5 I would say, has actually taken a long time there, especially if you have to take into account that the two players are actually very attacking, and there wasn't really an awful lot of safety battles being dragged on, but they've been consecutively there and consistently. It's taken a bit of time for us to go through. Now then, 70 seconds taken on the shot by Jiahui, and it doesn't look like he's got a clear idea in his mind on what he wants to do with this one right now. And of course, it's just a matter of time until he's going to force himself to try and go for some sort of a shot there. And maybe, it's not even about trying to hit the red, it's just finding a line, which is going to be a genuine attempt to hit the red and not leaving an easy chance away to his opponent here, which, of course, Jiahui has done quite well at the start of this second mini session, but if he is to go 4-1 down, then there surely is not going to be any way of coming back from that deficit, especially with the way that the previous 4 matches have actually finished, with every single time one of the players was able to go 2 frames or more ahead. He's gone on to win the match. Now then, more than 2 minutes taken on the shot, and it's a decent effort, but it does look like if the cue ball is going to stay out of the pocket, which it does, it is going to be a shot that Kyren Wilson takes on into the right corner. I don't actually think that you have to take the shot on, but, well, Wilson clearly not feeling that. I felt that he could have had a good look at this one, and despite the cue ball being so close on the cushion, I felt like he could have taken this shot on into the right middle or the right corner. Depends on which one he thought would have been easier for him. And as that is not going to be the case. So Rob Spencer just checking with his Jiahui there, the positional play. Does seem to be happy with this one this time. I think it's going to be a mistake there from Wilson in terms of if Jiahui hits the red from the second time, which he hasn't, now where's the cue ball going to bounce? And he certainly has left an easier shot now. And I don't think, yes, we're going to see any more of Jiahui for the foreseeable future. Is this frame slipping away from Jiahui? Well, it is now, because of, the second time. The first time, I felt like Kyren could have taken a bit more time to consider taking that red on. And he's certainly going to take one of those reds. I think he is going to try and go for the one closer to the black. So I wouldn't say it's slipping away for now, because he's still going to have that 38 points of a cushion with 75 on the table. So Wilson needs a couple of good red and color combinations for him to get as close to Jiahui as possible before he's going to be able to try and get through those reds on the black cushion position right there. 37 points of a deficit there as Wilson goes for a nice shot into the middle. Rolls the brown into the right corner as well. So now 33 points in between the players. You've got one red which is in open play, going to be taken right now. You've got one more being close to the side cushion. And as I say, the 3 famous reds that have spent the majority of the frame being sat onto the black cushion. I think the left one, closer to the left cushion, is going to be possible to try and pop there. Especially with that being probably the only red that you can give away in those circumstances. And maybe Wilson has got something else to think about it. And, well, we did. And, yeah, you can see the reaction on his face. He probably got unlucky with that one. He was trying to hit a load of backspin on the shot to try and get a couple of the reds right into each other. Therefore, get at least one of them in open play. In the end, he's pushed one of them in open play. Well, I say in open play on the side cushion, but in a possible position. But he's nowhere near to be landing on that one. So just unlucky there. And he has to try and roll the red along the black cushion while still getting the cue ball to bounce away onto the top part of the table. And he's played this one brilliantly. So, I mean, at this stage, you have to say the frame is actually starting to slip away there from Jiahui, because the 2 reds that Wilson has got on the left side cushion are manageable. They're not easy, but he should be able to deal with them. So it is all going to come down to that red, which is going to be in the middle of the black cushion right now. And also the cluster of pink, blue and green being right next to the green spot. And a beautiful shot there by Wilson. Nicely judged there. Got a little cannon, which probably would have been unwanted, but in the end it worked out brilliantly for him. in terms of getting one of those reds out of the way and actually in a better potting play than it was previously. Now behind by 20 points. 51 at the table. Still has to try and get this red in perfectly into the middle of the pocket, and he has managed to do so. So then, it does look like it is all going to come down to that last red being on the black ball cushion. So you should have one more easy red plus black combination after this one. And then that's when it's going to get really interesting for us to witness the winner of the frame. By the way, I know that you probably wouldn't mean that Jiahui is going to be a guaranteed threat to Wilson if he wins this frame. But if Wilson wins this frame, I mean, it's going to be as close to being over as he possibly can be. 4-1, world number 2, the man in form, playing really well, especially if he's going to be able to steal frames like that. You're not going to be able to come back from there. Another beautiful stun shot there with the rest. Red spot success as you would expect from someone like Kyren Wilson. 100% there. As he gets himself lined up for the black. I think slightly would have wanted to be on the top part of the black. Despite that, he's going to be able to force the angle on the cue ball. Now then, wants it to slow down. And I don't think he's going to be able to go for this red now. It's gone too far out. 4 points behind. And, yeah, well, he managed to get one of those reds before, but surely this is going to be too difficult for him. I mean, he can try and take it with the same way that he's done it on the previous one. Sort of try and go for it and send the cue ball to the top part of the table. But I have to say, this is going to be a lot more difficult to pot, and he has missed it. Now then, the red is going to bounce away. Oh, this could be nasty for Jiahui, and not quite. I mean, Wilson, you can see that he was trying to target that area of the blue, pink, and green cluster. And of course, if he was able to get that red into the pocket, he would have had a brilliant chance to make enough points of a clearance for him to be making a steal of the frame. Instead, you're going to have Jiahui as a long shot available, but he's gone for it slightly too soon, I'd say. And he's missed it by a significant amount of distance. And hasn't left it to Wilson because he's missed it by so much. And just gone alongside the black ball cushion. So then, oh, Wilson's played a good shot there. Oh, I mean, I didn't mean it that way. That's a fluke. I don't think he'll matter massively there to Wilson. But, I mean, what I meant when I said he's played it well is he's managed to get perfect touch, perfect connection off the cushion there into the red. And with a split second when I was saying that, the red has managed to drop into the left middle. Yeah, but Wilson's played the shot absolutely brilliantly. Stunned the cue ball to basically leave it on the black ball cushion and send the red onto the top part of the table. He sent it too close to the left middle. It's dropped in. But Jiahui can't complain about a fluke like that because of the one that he's had in the third frame. But I don't think Wilson has played a good shot now. I think he'll be disappointed in himself, especially if he's left this yellow to be visible there to Jiahui. Because he never had a chance to try and go for this black into the middle, but could have done that with leaving the cue ball slightly closer to the black. Now then, is it going to be a bit of a payback? The yellow is going to be close. Ooh, he nearly fluked it into the middle. Not quite though. And the same yellow is going to be possible into the right corner. That transition onto the green is going to be nasty though, because it requires Wilson to try and play this one with an awful lot of power. Yeah, if you cue this one well, you can cue any shot in snooker pretty much. This is going to be nasty to try and make sure the cue ball is not going to drop into the middle pocket. And yeah, he was trying to focus on the position too much, I think. And well, he certainly is going to give initiative back to Jiahui. Whether he's going to be able to get this yellow into its own pocket is another matter. But if he's not, Jiahui will have a great chance of getting that cue ball in behind the blue, pink, and green combination. I think that's what he's going to try and do. Of course, if he's got a chance in going for the yellow, he'll try and do it, but that wasn't the case. And I thought he could have done slightly more of a difficult job to put Wilson into, but, you know, he's managed to put the cue ball in behind the pink, so I think he just had to put slightly more distance in between the cue ball and the yellow, but I suppose he's obviously thought about that. Now then, first off, well, this is what I mean there. From the position that we had, I just can't really understand why he couldn't lay out a snooker, which could have costed Wilson some points. In the end, he was able to do it pretty much 10 seconds of thinking, and then on the first try of executing, once again trying to get the cue ball in behind that cluster. This time he's not going to lay a snooker at all. Got nice little power on the yellow, so that's going to leave it perfectly on the black ball cushion, but frame time is going to reach half an hour right now. So probably in around 40-minute mark is when we would expect the frame to finish. So then, once again, nice little touch on the yellow. And that was the way for Wilson, of course, to try and deal with the yellow being so close to the black ball cushion. And, well, he got a slice of luck himself there. And the cannon off the blue manages to put the blue into the open play, but also snookers Jiahui here. So it does seem to be a bit of a battle of who can snooker someone more. Snooker escape success 25%, but that's certainly going to go up there because that's a brilliant shot that Jiahui has played. And very close to getting a snooker back on Kyren Wilson, and in fact he's managed to get it. And Wilson just asking referee to have a look at this one. So we have seen a couple of close frames. All of them have been won by Kyren Wilson so far. And is this one going to be another one? He's played a really good shot there in terms of... He's judged the pace of the yellow absolutely perfectly, because if he's managed to roll this one with just a nudge more power, you would have been putting this yellow over the pocket. But instead, even though it's very close to the pocket, it is perfectly onto the side cushion. And well, I'm not sure if that was frustration there, but Jiahui didn't look like he had a lot of control over the yellow. He was trying to leave the cue ball close to the right corner pocket, and in the end, doesn't look like he had any trouble in terms of leaving the yellow into the zone pocket. So Wilson has to try and take the power away from the cue ball. And, well, he clearly was targeting the brown there as the point to stop the cue ball. Didn't quite manage that. And once again, back to Jiahui he goes. So he's going to have a nice little opportunity to try and, well, get this yellow into the lower part of the table. And what a shot that he's played. Brilliant there from Jiahui, and perfectly lined up in behind the blue. Once again, advantage C here. Wilson has to try and find himself back level here. So far, his snooker escape success has been way better than Jiahui. One so far, but, well, I mean, you can't really do anything about that. That's really unlucky from Wilson's point of view. He manages to get the yellow perfectly. He was always going to leave the cue ball close to the left corner pocket, but in the end, he was leaving it too close to the left corner pocket, and 4 foul points given away there to Jiahui. But more importantly, the ball in hands with the yellow being inside the D comfortably. As long as Jiahui is going to be able to get himself lined up for the green and brown, he should be taking this frame comfortably there from Wilson, but he hasn't really played a good shot now straight away. Of course, he had to put a lot of backspin on the shot, but he's put way too much of that, landing the cue onto the side cushion. Still, the green is possible, but just one thing can lead to another one, and if you misjudge the positional play on the green, A, you can miss it, and B, of course, you can try and misjudge that on the brown as well. But I think he's managed to recover pretty well. Still going to need the blue, though, as he's now 12 points clear, so 16 with the brown. And he's going to need the blue, so just that ability to try and play around the blue should come in very handy there for him. Ooh, just about gets the brown in, though, but it should be 3-2 of an advantage for Kyren Wilson, because he had his chances. It was always going to be Jiahui's frame to lose, especially after having that 46 points of an advantage, but in the end it does look like it is going to be 3-2 of a deficit for Jiahui. So he's still back in this match. He never really quite dropped out of it. He was 2-0 down, he was 3-1 down, and in the end he manages to get another frame away there from Wilson, and it is still Kyren Wilson 3, Jiahui 2 right now. And he was quite close on some of those occasions, especially when he was trying to take that red along the black ball cushion. Probably quite unfortunate with the way that the cue ball was landed into the left corner. But in the end, Jiahui won't care about that one at all. He's only one frame away of getting himself back to square one against Kyren Wilson. So then, I mean, for the records of 6 frames to 2 to stay the same, we need Kyren Wilson to win 3 frames on the bounce, but you have to say, the match has been very, very close there. We've seen 5 frames and it's been 2.5 hours since the match has started. Yes, you can take 15 minutes of an intermission away, but 5 frames for 2 hours, it's not really a fast-paced match, which you would expect it to be, especially with the way that we've seen performance from the players, them playing on the front foot, both of them, but also just trying to be as aggressive as possible in terms of when there's an opportunity. He's going to be trying to take it with whether it is a long shot or it's a difficult shot into the middle. We have seen consistent shots like that being made by the players. Majority of them, of course, being by Kyren Wilson. And, well, the first frame that Jiahui managed to win was a bit of a fortunate one because, it all came after a fluke where he was trying to see enough of the red closer to the right corner pocket. In the end, he managed to get it, but, I mean, by doing that, he caught 2 other reds on the way in. And that has actually got him into that opportunity of being just 1 frame behind, with the scoreline being 2-1 down. Now he's managed to do the same thing, despite being 3-2 down. As we just wait for the players to come back onto the arena, and when we do, Jiahui has to try and build on that. I said in the 4th frame, it's very important for him to try and win it, but right now, surely he has to try and take the opportunity that presents himself. And, when the chance comes at you, you have to make sure you take it. Otherwise, you're going to be punished there, as we've seen by Wilson before. I still think Kyren remains to be the dominant force here, but I think he could have done with being 4-1 up there, and instead, he's going to be 3-2 up in relation to his opponent from China. And still, I have to remind you, we've had 3 players from England against 3 players from China already in the Masters in 2026. And every single time it was a player from China knocking out the player from England. Of course, in the case of Gary Wilson and Zhao, that was the world champion, the world number 10, knocking out the world number 15, which you can understand there. But someone like Wu Yize taking down the Masters champion, the reigning champion, of course, in Sean Murphy, and him being the world number 7, so technically twice as higher up the rankings there in comparison to Wu Yize. And the same goes for Mark Selby, being knocked out by Salguron, that had a bit of a quiet campaign in the UK Championship. And in the end, of course, Selby has gone on to win that tournament, all in all, beating Watchalong, the reigning champion, on that occasion. Now then, Jiahui is back, and Kyren Wilson is going to try and get himself back onto the dominant march on towards a 4-2 of a lead. It's not going to be easy though, because technically, of course, we can still see just as many of those frames as we have seen in the opening 2 and a bit hours. Kyren Wilson is off to a decent start there. Hasn't managed to cover up the red. That has gone quite close to the top part of the table, but Jiahui is unable to make any advantage of that. And in fact, I think he's going to put him under massive scrutiny straight away. And the same red is going to be left out there to Kyren Wilson. So once again, just like we've seen in the opening frame, where it was a misjudgment from Jiahui that has allowed Wilson to go for a chance, he was unable to do so. And it was actually C that was able to benefit from his own mistake. Can Wilson try and do a similar sort of thing here? This time around, though, the black is available, so there should be a perfect opportunity for Wilson to have one of those quick frames, which we haven't actually seen since maybe the little shot for a maximum of a 147. Once again, just having a look to see. He's going to be able to go for this blue into the right middle. Should be able to control the cue ball well enough, though, to try and land it off the black ball cushion. Get himself lined up for that black ball spot and try and play around it. Play the good shot as long as he can see that red onto the lower part of the black. And he's unable to do so, so you'll have to try again. There's no way to hold the cue ball this time around. So just play for the blue. And try and get yourself started on well, just getting ever closer to that 4-2 of an advantage. Frame success, pot success in frames 1 and 3. 91% there for Kyren Wilson. And when it comes to frames 4 and 6, only 81%. So a 10% of a drop down. Same amount of pots that he's managed to take, but needing 7 more shots for that. which is going to be quite a substantial amount when it comes to the professional snooker players. Now then, he's got a good chance. And has he managed to get himself onto the red, into the left middle? Because Wilson, once again there, just not being too patient. And, well, it does look like it is going to be touching one of those reds. So Kyren Wilson has to try and play the cue ball away from the main bunch. Big up when we will see Ronnie next. It's a good question. I think in his interview that he said after the UK Championship, I think he's looking forward to playing in the Masters. In the German Masters. Not in the actual Masters, because you joined a day before the tournament started. So I think that's going to be a real chance. I think he's going to be involved in one of the Chinese tournaments of the World Open and the World Grand Prix. And then apart from that, you probably have to see until the World Championship there, which every year is probably the only time which you guarantee to see Ronnie O'Sullivan. Ooh, another bad shot there by Jiahui, but he got away with this one massively. Don't know how he does that, and I bet you'll be smiling about it, because it's 2 shots that he's played there, which could have cost him the frame, and in the end it's only going to be 12 points behind. So, well, I mean, to be fair, he's taken a really difficult shot there, in terms of, if he catches that red too thick on the edge, he's going to be sort of very fortunate not to make a double kiss on it. Now then, Wilson, I mean, it's a difficult shot that he's taking on. Does he have the form to try and back it up? He does. Brilliant shot there by Wilson. I mean, I have to say, for all the money in the world, I thought that was going to be a bit too much of a difficulty in terms of taking that shot on. But now, it's a second chance there for Wilson. And as much as I thought Jiahui got away with it, but I mean, he has got away with it, because that was in no way, shape or form he left an easy chance for Wilson. That was one of the best shots that we've seen in the entire match there, especially with it being the long shot so close to the side cushion, and with the pockets being quite unforgiving here so far. I mean, he had to play absolutely perfectly, and still playing with so much of the backspin to try and get the cue ball onto the side cushion. He was able to play for the yellow, and has got a couple of reds to try and make his way through right now. Surely he can't be letting this opportunity slip away from yourself once again there. The previous misjudgment was horrific there from Wilson, because once again, we don't really see him missing sort of easy pots there. We just see an easy shot's being missed on the positional play there. And once again, this time around, he plays this one nicely, and he gets himself in with a chance to try and stay on this red, and he can roll into the left corner pocket. Average shot time, 20 seconds in the opening 3 frames, and in the frames of 4, 5, and 6, has gone 3 seconds up there. 23 shouldn't really be a massive factor, especially with how lengthy those frames have been. You know, you don't going to have 20 seconds as your average shot when you're taking a difficult safety, which, you know, especially frame number 6 has been full off. But this is a lot better there, playing those shots pretty much on autopilot, and getting the best results for himself. Has to just try and breach over the shred, try and make his way through into the right corner. Wilson just, of course, going to be very much aware of the fact that he has to be very careful, not touching the reds. Referee making sure that he's going to be able to see that. And, I mean, played that one with a lot of power. Always have to be careful that you don't concede a push shot like that. But he was able to execute it nicely. And back to the black we go. Yeah, he's going to be very, very close in terms of... Wilson still has to make his way through those type of shots. Especially if he's going to be talking about having that 4-2 of a gap to try and hold on and maintain to. It's going to be the 3rd time. He'll be looking to try and go 2 frames away from Jiahui. And having that consistently being put on his opponent, that's going to be another benefit for him. Plays another great shot there on the black. So his positional play has been way below average in the last couple of frames, but you know, barring that first mistake or the first chance that he had at the break, it has been a lot better on this occasion. And with the way that he's managed to get those reds to separate away from each other, surely he's going to be able to put that lengthy frame behind him and get himself with a great chance of having that sort of a 2-frame advantage re-established there. Just has to be slightly careful that he doesn't get the cue ball to be lost in the great maze of those reds. He's got 6 of those, quite close to each other. One more slightly closer to the left side cushion. And the last one currently positioned on the black ball cushion, which of course Wilson won't need unless he talk about a century break, which I don't think he's going to be his main focus on right now. We've got the break of 36 points, make that 43, and the gap to Jiahui is going to be 55 points, so very close to be over the line, 83 at the table, so he needs 2 more reds with 2 more colours, and all that work of Jiahui is going to be undone in no time at all. That's going to be one of the most painful outcomes for you when you work super hard, when you try and grind out every single point there. He had that 46 points advantage coming into the second part of that frame. It's dragged on for pretty much half an hour since then. He was able to make it after numerous mistakes from Wilson. And it does look like it's all going to be for absolutely nothing. 63 points advantage, so a red to be taken into the middle. And then you're going to have a chance of taking the pink into the left middle as well. That's going to be the frame ball. 70 points clear. Jiahui doesn't look too happy, and can understand why. Once again, just not being able to, when you're 1 frame away, first thing you want to do is just try and put some sort of pressure on your opponent, but he wasn't able to do so in the 4th frame, really. He wasn't able to do so in the 3rd frame. Sorry, in the 4th frame, and now he wasn't able to do it right now, so, it does look like he's going to be struggling to still find himself in the quarterfinal and make it 4 out of 4 players from China before we go to another England versus China derby of Ding Jiahui against Judd Trump. Now then, Wilson just looking with his eyes there towards 6 pockets because he manages to miss the pink. And Jiahui is looking to get back to the table. Surprised by that, but you probably understand it with 12 points being the difference in terms of the total clearance, and still 3 snookers needed for him to tie. But of course that has to be taken into account that sometimes you've got a chance to line a free ball opportunity to your opponent. When that comes into play, you can get up to 8 more points. So all of a sudden, it's 4 points of a foul. It's a free ball which you can take there. Any of those colours is the value of a red. You take the black with it, and all of a sudden, that's your 12 points that you're missing right now. It probably would have been 1 more point. I don't think we would have seen any more of Jiahui. As it does seem to be the case where it's 4 snookers needed without the free ball. You don't really see players walking out back onto the table. Because Jiahui is still looking for that maiden ranking event title. And what a place to try and finally put that number onto him. Of course, we've seen Wu Yize take his maiden ranking event title with the International Championship. We've seen it with, well, not quite Chris Wakelin because he's managed to take it into the shootout. But it was always going to be different when he managed to win the Scottish Open. And right now, we have also seen it with Jack Lisowski, of course, at the Northern Ireland Open. Can we see another special player like Jiahui winning a beautiful tournament like this? Of course, the likes of, I mentioned, the likes of Wu Yize, Xiao Guodong, and Zhao, well, not quite Zhao Xingtong, but he's had a brilliant end to last season campaign. All of them have won ranking events this season. Xiao Guodong managed to win Wuhan Open in China. Mark Selby being knocked out, sorry. Of course, managed to win Champion of Champions and the UK Championship. Murphy's done that with the Xi'an Grand Prix. And Wu Yize, as I mentioned, has done it with the International Championship. And now then, Jiahui lands a snooker on Kyren Wilson. Let's see how much time it'll take for Kyren to try and find a perfect line. Didn't take too much. Now then, has he got the kiss? He does have the kiss, so was very eager to try and get it past him as soon as he possibly can. So that was the chance there of Jiahui, because remember, when you try and play those 3 reds with 3 blacks, you're always going to have an opportunity to be landing a snooker and behind the black, which was the case for him. But was Wilson able to re-establish the order straight away? Only needs the red, and he will be frame over. But until then, Jiahui has got a great chance of trying to battle out, and of course that can frustrate Wilson as well. Both of the players are going to be attacking, but Jiahui hasn't got another option there to try and go defensive right now. And force Kyren Wilson into an error. And now he forced him to go into the long shot. Wasn't quite able to successfully execute that into the right corner. But he still should have a nice opportunity to go for, well, not quite another chance for a safety shot. Just maybe putting a bit of distance in between the cue ball and the red. I mean, he's going to be looking for that cue ball in behind the black, surely. No, he wasn't. So, just trying to get the cue ball onto the ball cushion. And I don't really understand that shot there because he was a bit of a sort of zone that he was trying to play into. He wasn't really playing into a particular colour there because he landed the cue ball perfectly in between yellow and brown. And surely, right now, it is going to be taken with the red into the right corner, and he manages to do so. So then, 48 points advantage. He's not going to see any more of Jiahui. And if the blue disappears into the right corner, we are going to be able to see another great performance from Kyren Wilson in the next frame. For now, though, he's able to put this frame behind him. And despite all the efforts for Jiahui to try and put that. And, well, certainly going to be looking forward to this one. Now then, 79 points as points totally there for Wilson. Once again, bit of exhibition. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cushions shot on the cue ball, and he's perfectly on the brown. That is going to be top cue ball control from Wilson's point of view. And back to the brown it goes. And well, I mean, straight after he's done a perfect shot like that, he's going to drop the cue ball and miss the brown in. So clearly, all for the entertainment of fans. And Jiahui's not going to care about this one. He's going to be 4-2 behind. So once again, when he was 2-0 up, and he was 3-1 up, and now he's 4-2 up, able to maintain that 2-frame cushion to his opponent, and only 2 frames away from making yet another quarter-final appearance. And could this be the season, could this be the year where Wilson is finally able to take it beyond that runner-up status and be the Masters champion? Of course, that will take him nicely into 2/3 of the way of completing the Triple Crown set. And then being the 2024 World Champion already, being the runner-up a couple of times at the Masters. And, well, had a couple of good campaigns at the UK Championship, but hasn't actually managed to get too close to taking either Masters or the UK Championship so far. And he's on the right track, though, to try and maybe put one of those crowns behind him and get himself into a quarter-final appearance, not for the first time, at the Alexandra Palace here. See a winner. And not for me. And my notification has gone through. As the match, Wilson in good form? Yes, he actually has been. I think he has been one of those interesting and a bit weird matches because, as you can see, 2.5 hours since it started, and also 2.5 hours since it started, but you had 6 frames there for it. So, what is it, 150 minutes for 6 frames. You take away about half an hour on that. And yeah, you're going to be sort of pushing into 20 minutes of an average frame time, which, to be fair, is not quite that bad, but the couple of frames that we had were taking a bit of time. You know, we had a maximum opportunity for Wilson in the 2nd frame. Then we had the 4th frame and the 5th frame, which were quite lengthy, taking way over half an hour. And that's why we ended up in 2.5 hours time, having 6 of those frames being won. But I think it's really close in between Wilson and Jiahui. And we had a couple of those close frames. The first one was close. The second one wasn't. The third one, I mean, it wasn't really, but the third one was a bit lucky there for C because he was able to get the fluke in somehow. I don't know how. After lining up a good snooker on Kyren Wilson, and then he managed to play 97 points out of that. So incredibly, Wilson hasn't done anything wrong in that frame, but he still managed to lose. So that was 2-1. Then the 4th frame, as I say, was quite lengthy. Wilson was able to take that one as well. And in the end, after we come back from the intermission, 3-2, so Jiahui is able to get himself back into game. And then straight away, Wilson is able to put that 2-frame cushion back onto the table. As this time around, it is going to be Jiahui stationary in his seat. And Kyren Wilson going for a little bathroom break of his own. So then, well, Jiahui has to be careful. As I say, he's still in with a chance there, but as he's yawning. He might have a lot of sleep tonight there because he won't have to prepare for the quarterfinal matches. Kyren Wilson might do so. We can have a cracker of a quarterfinal with Wilson against Robertson for now, as the two higher rated seeds left out after Sean Murphy being knocked out of the game. And you can see there Rob Spencer just making sure that all the crowd are not going to be in the way there of Jiahui before his break-off shot. And of course, when you've got such a great crowd and such huge capacity of arena at the Alexandra Palace, you'd always have to do a little bit of a maintenance work in making sure that that's not going to be in the way of the players. As especially Mark Cullen saying yesterday after his win over Mark Williams, saying that he's actually his favourite spot to play in terms of the crowd, and despite him having huge concern over his food poisoning, which forced him to spend the majority of the week in the bed for the last 7 days or so, he was able to have a dominant performance against Mark Williams. It's a similar sort of story for Wilson in terms of course, not for food poisoning, but he was struggling to get himself onto the good track of positive results there ever since a couple of early tournaments this season. But for now, it is going to be a good long shot opportunity here for Jiahui, similar to the one that Wilson was able to say, but not quite for C this time. And he rolls the cue ball onto the top part of the table, which is going to be good news, but so close to getting that red in. Just catching too much of the back end jaw in the end. Lump of success 40% for Wilson and 50% for Jiahui so far. Wilson responds with a beautiful safety, getting the cue ball onto the ball cushion. And so once again back to Jiahui goes. This time around, we're not going to have the black compromised by those reds, although, probably still not going to be possible into the left corner. So whoever gets the first chance has to be mindful of that, and also just getting himself into the good position when he comes to having those reds to be positioned with the cue ball being played and landing up on those colours consecutively. Something that Wilson has actually managed to do majority of the breaks that he had an opportunity, and so far, of course, not losing any of those frames at all. Now then, Jiahui is taking a step backwards there. Once again, just trying to roll the cue ball onto the red, to the lower part of the table. So I'm not sure that was the right shot to play. He obviously has studied all the options that he was going to leave away to Wilson, but Kyren does seem to be looking at taking one of those reds into the right corner. So I think he's going to be taking the red closer to the right corner pocket. If that's left out, Jiahui should be absolutely ashamed with himself. And that was, well, that's really poor, because he's played the shot brilliantly in terms of he couldn't actually get the cue ball anywhere else in terms of being closer to the red that he's played for. And yet Wilson was able to get through to that red. And in the end, it does look like he's going to give himself another chance here. So landing himself on the yellow, having a clear angle to try and send the cue ball back down the table. Having that ability to maybe block the white from travelling too far down. So, probably wanted to play with slightly more of a backspin as this fades away there, slightly closer to one of those reds. He's got a backup option off a red into the middle, which I think is going to be the one that he's going to be looking at right now. But ideally, you want to be playing that shot with a different angle and a different perspective there. Because if you try and play it with sort of left-hand spin to try and get yourself lined up for the blue, you're always going to be on the wrong side of it. And that's not something that snooker players would like to see themselves a part of. Now then, still has the ability to try and get the cue ball into that little gap of the yellow and the brown. A bit of side spin. Played it nicely, to be fair. Once again, wants the cue ball to slow down. And, he's not perfect on this one into the right corner, but I think the rest shot into the left corner is going to be a bit more of a logical shot for him to take on, because the black is not going to be possible for now into the left corner, surely. So, if you go for that shot into the right corner, you can't leave the cue ball with topspin for that black. Therefore, you have to try and take it with backspin for the blue, which is going to be difficult. But now let's see if Wilson is able to execute this one perfectly. And he thought about it, and in the end, it's gone for more of a straightforward approach. And that's going to get him into the really good position now, because after he takes the black into the right corner, which he surely will do anytime now, he's going to be able to get the other red, which was going to be in the way of the black, being taken into the left corner out of the way. That way he's going to have the black possible into both of the corner pockets, and he's going to have himself set up into the prime position to try and finally put all of those lengthy frames behind him. Pot success 87% somehow. Don't really understand how it's gone down from the previous frame, but 87 pot success for Wilson, 89 for Jiahui. I've got absolutely no clue how that works, because I think the majority of mistakes from Wilson have actually come from positional play mistakes, not from pot success, but I suppose numbers don't lie. Now then, 18 points advantage, so once again, having that chance to try and play for the black, still didn't really have an opportunity to see if the black is going to be possible into the left corner pocket as well. But with Wilson not really having the necessity to try and test it, 108 balls spotted, for Wilson and 70 for Jiahui. That probably explains it, to be fair, because if you miss sort of 5 shots on 70 attempts, and if you miss 5 shots on 110 attempts, it's going to be different numbers, which you're going to end up with. But still, as I say, can't really understand how. Jiahui's got better pot success in terms of even, I wouldn't say that's an advantage to him at all, because he's about to be 2.5 frames down here, with Wilson being 32 points clear and having such a positive position ahead of himself. I mean, you have to judge him in terms of, if he's such an attacking player, how can he be having such great pot success and yet still being behind by, well, approaching 3 frames here. Especially Wilson is able to get his head around those shots. I think you have to say, he doesn't have to do anything with the position at all. Just the cosmetic changes. Once again, he lost the cue ball slightly there, but because of the position being so open there, he's got the couple of options to try and rejuvenate himself. Try and go for a shot into the left middle, which you can see so far, left and right middles. Pot success, 100% there for the pockets. So certainly going to be a fan of the middle pocket. Wants to miss the green though, and wants the cue ball to bounce away. So a couple of nervy shots there from Wilson, but he's able to perfect them, to be fair, in terms of the result and the outcome. 40 points clear now of Jiahui. So if you go for a little bit of a backspin shot once again on the cue ball, you're going to have the angle to try and maybe send the brown into its own pocket, off the side cushion, get the cue ball to the lower part of the table, and once again, back in the prime position it goes. 44 points clear. Still on for a 1-3-5 over break, which of course would no longer be the highest break of the tournament. Now then, slightly underrun for the blue, but I suppose he can take the pink on. Doesn't really want to do that though. So he's still looking at taking the blue, especially with him pushing one of those reds onto the top part of the table, so close to the right middle. He's going to be able to just slow the cue ball down and have that red taken in no time at all. So another 50 plus break. I think that's the second one from Wilson's point of view after that early 1-4-7 attempt in frame number 2. And 51 points that he scores right now. So yeah, he should be 2 more reds comfortably away. And yeah, in no time, as I say, it was 30 minutes or so, well, more than 30 minutes, 40 minutes or so, that he has taken Jiahui to try and finally get himself back within touching distance of Kyren Wilson. And yet, in what feels like less time than that, he has managed to take 2 frames, pretty much 2 frames. Shouldn't really say that too soon, but if he gets the pink in, he's going to be 63 points clear, so he only needs 1 more red. And then you can officially say that he was able to take 2 frames away there and put himself so close to making it 5 out of 5 there, with all matches so far ending with the scoreline of 6 frames to 2. The history could be repeated here again, but this time around it is going to be slightly different plot, because for the first time in this campaign in the Masters, we're going to have the player from China defeated and the player from England victorious, after the likes of Xiao Godon, Wu Yize and Zhao Xington were able to defeat the respective opponents in the derby of Mark Selby, Sean Murphy and Gary Wilson. Well, you probably didn't expect even half of those to be defeated. Certainly not in the case of Sean Murphy and Mark Selby from my point of view. I always thought that Jiahui was going to be a real threat for the first round, and I think he's going to struggle in the quarterfinal. Needs to find more consistency, although he was playing really well against Gary Wilson on some of those spells and had that ability of just closing down frames in no time at all and producing great clearances as well. And, well, not quite there for Wilson because it is going to be the highest break of the match that we've seen. And 87 points advantage, so he's looking to try and get closer to that century break. Still on for a potential 1-3-0 as he rolls the red in. So, of course, that's going to take a hit. So, potentially 1-2-8 now as he goes for the blue. But I think the main focus has to be on making sure he's going to lead Jiahui in every single aspect of the game. And, of course, the only one that is not going to be leading Jiahui in for now, or there's two actually, there's long pot success. And there is the highest break in the match as well. As he plays another beautiful shot there off two side cushions from the blue. Transition perfectly onto the black ball cushion. Takes the red in nicely. And it is going to be all about taking the black into the right corner. And a bit of entertainment for the fans. Once again, no look there. And yeah, Wilson enjoying that one. And so do the crowd. And you can hear the incredible noise at the Ali Pali. And, well, from the neutral point of view, that is going to be an absolute joy to watch. From Jiahui, not so much so. It is Kyren Wilson very much on top of his game. He seems to be smiling. He seems to be enjoying his cue. And that's a real sign that he's going to be a mighty threat for the opposition. Whether it is going to be Jiahui in one more frame, or maybe more. Or he's going to be the player of the winner of the pairing of Neil Robertson and Chris Wakelin being the wildcard and replacing the 7-time world champion Ronnie O'Sullivan. And we've got a century. Yes, we do. As I say, I think it would have been a lot nicer had it happened in the second frame. It was looking like pretty much since the 30% of that frame where he was looking like it was going to be a great chance and a great opportunity for Wilson to try and make that 1-4-7. In the end, he was able to take some of those minor changes away to those reds, but just run himself out of position on way too many occasions. I think if he was having this chance right now, he would be, well, slightly more confident in going for that 1-4-7, but that's always going to be the problem when you're just starting out in your match. And that's why it was super impressive for Ronnie to make that 1-4-7 in the opening frame against Chris Wakelin in the Saudi Masters semi-final. And, of course, in the sixth frame, he's gone on to make another one. And not sure it was the sixth frame, to be fair. It may have been the seventh frame, where he was going 4-3 up. Now then, Rob Spencer getting the cue ball to Kyren Wilson. What may be the last time here, because he's only one frame away from making 3 on the bounce there against Jiahui and leaving his opponent from China in a very, very, well, not quite a problem spot at that time because he'll be out of the tournament completely. And now it is going to be all down to the last couple of shots that he can play that could prove to be the last ones of his campaign at the Masters. Now then, Jiahui just having a look if he's going to be able to go for this long shot. Don't think that's going to be the case there. And just looking one more time to see if he can get through to that red to try and take it into the right corner. He wasn't able to do so, so he went for one into the left corner instead. And, well, it's a nice shot there for him because he manages to cover up the majority of those reds with the cue ball. And just having a look there, if Wilson can get through to this red into the left corner, may have the opportunity to try and go for it right now. Because, well, he's not going to have too many things holding him back there. He's got 3 frames advantage. And, well, he missed that one by a mile. It was always going to be the problem when you play the shot with so much power. And, yeah, he missed that one by considerable amount of distance. So, as I say, only one aspect of the game, which he is going to be runner-up in. Long pot success, 38%, with Jiahui only, well, not only 50, but still better percentage-wise than Kyren Wilson. And when it comes to safety success, sort of normal pot success, rest pot success, the highest break in the match, ball spotted, points scored. All of these stats are going to be dominated there by Wilson. But, I mean, how lucky can you get there with Jiahui? Because it was a perfect shot of a cross double, but somehow managing to find the perfect way to squeeze the black in. I mean, that was such a difficult shot for you to play. If you tried that about 100 times, I'd probably do it on 2 or 3 occasions. But, yeah, a brilliant shot there. Unfortunately, of course, it's going to cost him 7 points. And ultimately, I mean, is that going to be free ball away to his opponent? I'm just looking to see what Rob Spencer might say. I mean, he's going to have a look at this one. I don't know if it's going to be a free ball, you know. So, clearly, no is the answer because Kyren Wilson is going to put the Jiahui straight back into this one. So, just feeling like, well, of course, it is a nasty position for him to try and play from, especially after having such a good save shot that he's managed to play previously, and still has to be the one trying to find his way out of this one. Yeah, he can't see enough of the edge of those reds to try and make his way up the table, and he wasn't able to do so from the first time. He was quite far away there from catching that red. Could be a bit of a confidence blow as well. If he does it the second time of asking, you'll be in massive trouble. Because, you know, when he was facing a 3-miss roll before, he had that opportunity of playing on the other side of those reds. He doesn't have that luxury now. And you can see 13 fouls that he's made. 58 points. So, 4.5 points on average that he gives away per foul. Sometimes catching the likes of blue, pink or black. Of course, majority of those were just the attempts that he was trying to make. And trying to catch the cue ball onto the reds and just missing into the open part of the table. I mean, he's managed to catch the red this time around, but he's pushed one of them close to the right corner, which I think is going to be taken there by Wilson. And also, he manages to get the pink and the black very much compromised by each other and the main bunch of reds, which is not going to be great news to any one of the players. Wilson slightly unlucky there in terms of the way that he got the cannon on the red. And he could have done without it. Just having the cue ball to go past the same red and just leaving himself nicely onto the blue or the yellow to be taken. Because the good news is Wilson can try and forget about the positional play on the reds completely. Because of having that yellow so close to the blue, he can just try and drop it in behind. But, you know, that's a benefit for him. In the case that he makes the blue in to the yellow pocket, but if he misses it, that way he gives an easy chance away to Jiahui, which, I mean, I have to say, I know it's probably not the most intelligent comment of all times, but I think at this stage, you can't really say that that's going to be a massive advantage to Jiahui because the position is going to be compromised quite significantly, and therefore, I mean, you have to play perfect shots of trying to get the cue ball onto the blue all the time, and I can't really see him doing that on this occasion. He's got this blue that he takes there, Wilson. And a fantastic shot that he gets himself on the red with a nice angle to try and drop the cue ball on for the blue. Or maybe just even try, well, he can't really play for the pink or black for the time being. So maybe he's just going to try and get himself enough of an angle to force the cue ball into the pink and the black. And that way, they give himself a couple more options to try and make his way through. Now the top spin shot. So clearly doing that off the side cushion. He has to do it because there's not going to be a better way and a better opportunity. And that surely has to be the best shot that we've seen. I know that I've said it about the long shot and that was brilliant alongside the side cushion. But, I mean, that was an absolute thing of beauty. Of 2 cushions, the ability to generate so much cue action, that pretty much was prime Jiahui there in the making. Pat split success, 80% there. Compromised massively in the opening couple of frames. And ever since then, Wilson has been supreme in that aspect of the game, as he has been in many of those, managing to have so many reds to spread out away from each other, managing to get the pink into open play as well. And Jiahui will know better than anyone in the Alexandra Palace that he probably has played his last competitive shot here at the Masters, especially if you look at the way that we've seen Kyren Wilson perform in the last couple of frames. You know, if he was back at 3-2, you could say that, well, maybe he's still going to make a handful of mistakes It wasn't the case on frame number 6 or 7, and it doesn't look like that will be the case in frame number 8 either. 29 points clear, still 123 at the table, because don't be confused by that. We had a couple of foul points given away there by C, and a break of 18 points there for Wilson and counting, as he tries to make his way through. So slightly compromised here though, because he didn't have the ability to try and play for one of the top reds onto the right middle. But once again, a beautiful get out of jail card there that he's played, getting the cue ball off 2 cushions, which wasn't easy with a minor angle that he had on the red of his choice, and now having this opportunity to try and pot the black from the pink spot. And it doesn't really matter if he goes on its own spot or the pink spot, but of course slightly beneficial if he goes back onto its original position, which it does, because of the opportunity of, when you try and get yourself slightly up the table, there you can try and play for the pink and get that one respotted as well. That way you're going to have all the colours in prime positions. With so many reds in open play, it's not going to be a challenge for you at all. And Wilson looking to be in charge of the position for the 3rd time on the bounce. I mean, don't actually think that we've seen any of those points so far made in Kyren Wilson's favour. Once again, great shot that he plays into the left corner, and 46 points as he advances to, just getting ever closer. It's about 53 points after this black that he takes into the right corner, plays it with a bit of backspin, so once again stuns the cue ball and tries to hold it for the red. I think he's going to have the ability to try and maybe hold it for the pink on this occasion. So then play through the side cushion, which has been the trademark shot of Wilson so far throughout this match, and just the number of times that he's played it off the right side cushion, sort of in comparison to the left one, it has to be in no comparison completely. Now then, takes the pink finally off into the left middle. He's able to do enough work with the spin to hold the cue ball enough to finally get himself set up for this red to be taken into the left corner as well. So 60 points clear. About to make it 3rd 50 plus break once again. And, well, brilliant execution there. And especially after he's managed to put that frame loss behind him at 3-2, he was able to step up his game massively. Average shot time in the opening 6 frames was 21 seconds. In the last 2 frames, it has been only 18 seconds there, which just shows the amount of time that he spent on the break chances here. And it does look like only 2 shots away from making it another win in the Masters. And because, well, if you don't count, which you probably should, but if you don't count that 2024 World Championship, which Wilson was able to absolutely get the most out of the chances that were presented to him. Some people say that probably was one of the worst World Championships in recent history there, but Wilson didn't really care about it. He was able to put all of his opponents behind him, and, losing out on the world title a couple of years before that, when he was up against Ronnie O'Sullivan for the first time, after having that roller coaster of a semi-final against Anthony McGill in 2020. He was able to make it on the second time of asking it against Jack Jones. But as I say, apart from that, as he gets the match ball in, and it is going to be Kyren Wilson into the quarterfinals. So the curse is broken, but another curse stands every single match so far. And there's been 5 of them, including this one, has finished with the score being 6 frames to 2. Of course, the curse that was broken is that on 3 of those occasions, it was a player from China defeating the player from England. And that might have been something in the back of minds of Jiahui going into this match, but it certainly wasn't something on the back of his mind after the brilliant performance of the last 3 frames there from Wilson. And well, let's see if he's going to be able to get another century here. It was never going to be a comeback there from Jiahui after he lost out on that 7th frame, especially in the manner that Kyren Wilson has done that. And I think he's just managed to outplay him in, well, all the departments, really. Just maybe sometimes not having that clinical edge to be winning this match by 6-1 or 6-0, which still could have been the chance there, had it not been for that fluke in the 3rd frame. God knows how the match would have gone in that case. But he still didn't confuse Wilson too much. He didn't actually allow that to get under his skin, and he was able to be back playing really well not so much when he came to the last frame of the first mini session, but he was still victorious in it. When he came to the first frame of the second mini session, he was playing probably badly once again, but ever since then, he was able to step up his game massively, and now we are just a couple of shots away there from making it a century break as another red disappears. So then just the black to be taken into the right corner for him to be trying to have another semi-difficult shot that he's managing to make his way through and be quite close to his highest break ever achieved at the Masters of 139. And if he makes it with a total clearance of the black, he's going to be able to get a 132 out of it, which, make no mistake, is going to be a great achievement, especially to do that on the back of 101 points of a break. Now then, 105, as long as the cue ball stays out of the pocket, which Wilson, with his perfect sight, certainly acknowledging that and just asking the cue ball very nicely to ensure he's going to stay at the table. Of course, leaving himself massively compromised for the yellow, but that's not going to matter one bit because Kyren Wilson, take a bow. This has been a brilliant performance, especially in the last couple of frames. He has managed to destroy Jiahui ever since that frame number 5. And it is Kyren Wilson that marches on into the quarterfinal. Jiahui still has to be looking for that maiden ranking event win. But is it going to be finally the year of Kyren Wilson in the Masters? He seems to be enjoying himself, and he certainly seems to be playing really, really well. We're going to see if it is going to be the man from down under, the Thunder from down under against the Warrior in the quarterfinal stage, or is it going to be Chris Wakelin, the man in form, the man that has made the maximum at the Championship League and at the Scottish Open, and the victorious at the Scottish Open, or is it going to be the derby of the world number 2 and the world number 3? We're going to find out on Friday, but for now then, thank you very much for everyone tuning in, and we'll see you around tomorrow for the last of the first round matches that we'll be doing of Jiahui against Jiahui, the pair of Mets in the quarterfinal of the UK Championship. Let's see if the outcome is going to be the same in the first round of another Triple Crown event at the 2025-2026 season. Thank you very much again, and we'll speak to you soon. Take care.